See what he feels.
It's quite easy to do.
2 minutes, bye-bye.
Thank you. He just went that one. He's from the water. Yeah, he's. We do not do that. Like, just like. They had a bounce house. Sitting on the road. The first thing you about to see now. They're on the bounce house. I guess. Shut down. You. Going through the.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow.
It's, if you want to see some of this, I put a big blow up stuff. I
Stayed at.
I'm,
No, I
it looks like the, I didn't go up and down, I did like
last
a
weekend and.
sawtooth down in the road, it's like a way back.
6 o'clock, so I'm gonna call this meeting to order, please. Welcome, everyone. This meeting is being recorded and will be posted on the city's YouTube channel. Also, thanks to Cynthia's arrangements, we have some holiday treats over here on the counter. Feel free, anyone is, feel free to help yourself during the meeting or after. So, roll call, and please state your name.
My father.
Oh, fire chief.
I gotta go.
Roll call?
You're.
Marion Wainwright.
Nick Wolf here.
Kate here.
I'm here. I'm Mary here.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, approval of the consent agenda. Several items there. Have you had a chance to look at that? And so I need a motion to approve.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Under the reports, and Sarah, you're up first. Deputies?
Yes.
Good evening. We're here to report for the month of November that we met the required hours of 78 hours and had a total of 62 calls within the month.
For our record, could you state your name? Are you new to?
I'm Deputy Philip Williams, with Lynn County Sheriff's Office.
Welcome.
Thank you. Is there any other questions?
Any questions?
Hello.
Thank you.
Yeah, have a good evening, Steve. Thank you. Yeah, see you guys. See you, Colin.
Next, we have the library report. Kathy?
Kathy Bain, Fairfax Public Library Director. Things have been kind of slow at the library, but we still have 12 to 15 children showing up for story time. We've had a very successful book club that's usually got about 12 members showing up months and months. So that's been a good addition to the library. Otherwise, we're just kind of moving forward. Any questions?
I do. I saw in the minutes that the roof is leaking again. Is that true?
It is.
So you reached out to Denise to see if he can come back to see what's going on, or did we just aware of that?
He said he's going to come back, but I have not heard from him yet.
Also, Denise has been bought out.
But they're still honored, according to him.
He's
they're still
fully
honored.
still on.
Right.
Do you have the contact for the new guy?
Well, I think, yeah, I got it.
You do, okay.
It's still.
How long has it been since you reached out and he has not responded to you?
He was gonna reach out, he emailed me and said he was gonna contact me after Thanksgiving.
Oh my, so, okay, we might need to kick that up a little bit.
Right.
I think it's Avasky is the last name. is that the contact that's taken over? Yeah, so you had his phone number, I could get that.
Do I have his phone number?
Vasti, I think, is who owns it now.
Oh, from Walford?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, Tim, I know Tim too, I mean,
yeah.
our kids grew up together.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, this was a Mike somebody, I believe.
Like, I just saw that when, that building's been terrible.
Got it all repainted and then walk in and it's like, ah. Big spot again on the ceiling.
Thank you, fire department, chief.
Whatever. We've had 298 calls for service so far this year. So we're right on pace for the same as we did last year, I think. We're still doing some backing out on that truck that I talked about at the last meeting. So we're just kind of getting started on that, and I'll give you more information when I get it, but, other than that, everything's busy. Anybody got anything, complaints? Good thoughts, bad thoughts?
Are you still chief or are you reelected?
Just go straight for the bad stuff on there. Yes, I still,
Yay,
2 more years,
yay, awesome.
if I make it.
Any questions for him? Thank you. Maintenance department. Oh, building, excuse me, Chris.
Building department. For that, other than that,
You've got a couple items on the agenda later.
yeah, there's some stuff on the agenda later, I'll get through a little bit. Is there any questions for me?
Not really a question. I did have somebody reach out to me, that there's someone running a business in a residential area that isn't zoned correctly, blah, blah. So I think you and I can just talk about that after the meeting. I don't think there really needs to be.
Okay,
But please remind me, so.
oh, yeah,
Okay.
anything else?
Thank you. Now the maintenance department. Lynn?
In the order of the maintenance department, we're done, pretty much been business as usual, haven't had much snow yet, so that's good, I guess. The banners that were up for the events, they're all down now, they think they've been all just picked up and stuff in City Hall. The Xmas lights are up, as you see, so they're all working, a lot of those were revamped for the outlets on the poles, so everything seems to be going good on that, which is good. But what we have up is all we're kind of allowed to have up currently. So they didn't want any new ones beyond that. So we can maintain what we have. But the mowers are all put away. Thank God, they're all serviced and put away, and the plows are now out, so. The other thing we've been doing is working on the budget a lot, and the old salt bunker, if you remember, during the derecho, it kind of got destroyed. Insurance paid for half of it, and we had that up here, about a year ago. So that happened. Currently, we're now trying to finish and extend it from what it was and get a little more room for cold storage. So we're in the process of kind of working on that right now, taking advantage of this warm weather climate before the. That's about it for me.
Any questions, Fred?
Water guy. Let's see how smooth this is.
Water and wastewater.
Wastewater department. I'm sure everybody's wanting to know the date and water tower, so start with that. There was a little bit of deviation from what was put in the facts for it. What happened was they made a mistake, and on the 3rd coat that they were supposed to put on, they actually put the 4th coat on, which is a better coat. And so what was determined is they were going to make them put yet another 4th coat on to make the quantity of mills thick that is required to, which means you get 2 of the better coats at the end, which is gonna turn out to be a better product for us. And it's gonna cost them a lot of money, extra. So, right now, up to where the brow braces are, that's finished up to that point, complete, except for the decoration. After they got that done, they got where those braces were at, they still got a couple more coats of paint to put on those particular spots. And then the top crown gets another coat. And then they'll do the decorative part, which is all gonna be done in the spring, they're done now. So. And, I think everything's going good, I'm going to collect everybody's information, I'll send everybody on the council out the reports that we were getting, so you guys could get a look at what they were actually looking at when they were doing the paint process. And the detail that they were going into as part of the inspection process, so that you can at least take a look at it and see, hopefully make you feel a little better that they were paying attention to stuff. I'll get that out to you. The communication line that was messed up is still in the process of trying to get that fixed. They were telling me it was either gonna be today, tomorrow, or Thursday, so hoping that's gonna be done this week. Everything's been good. We've been online with the tower as projected on December 4th, so we're back to normal, so to speak. Yeah, a few things that we needed to change on some settings and whatnot, and get those little hiccups figured out, but that was not a big deal. Then been doing with the wastewater repair, budget prep, and just talking to John about water line that's supposed to go underneath the railroad tracks is due to be coming up here in the near future as part of the bid process, and it sounds like a spring construction time, so. And
The water tower is about 80% done.
I'd say, yeah, there's a little bit of concrete at the bottom they're supposed to paint, but it has nothing to do with the steel, so. And then, yes, just the crown and the decorative colors and stuff, and they were, the funny thing was, the Thursday morning, we went up there because I had a problem with the communication again at that time. And they were talking about doing the blue that morning, and as I'm standing there talking to the inspector, they changed their mind and they were gonna do white. Did white that day, so that they could take those braces down, because they had to take the braces down anyway to be able to do blue. So I don't know why they weren't thinking that way in the first place.
There'll be some trade repairs and yard repairs out there too.
Yeah, there's kind of the finish up stuff, I gotta keep track of the paperwork on that, but yeah, there's yard fix up, driveway fix up. A lot of that stuff is fairly.
So is there 4 coats from the braces down? Now?
Yes,
There is, okay.
yeah. And so they just put a coat over the top of the braces for now, where the brace spots were at, and they ground them off. And so that the steel wouldn't run. Hopefully it doesn't run, otherwise they're gonna have to put a whole other coat on. So they're hoping that that's gonna hold. I don't know if they're gonna be required to grind that off, or if the paint was okay at the time when they put those on, because it was kind of cold, but I don't know if it met those parameters. I haven't read that last report yet, but they were keeping track of that. So worst cases, they'll have to grind it off and then still put 3 or 4 coats on those particular spots with the final over the top. Anything for me?
Okay, Parks and Recreation.
Joe Kell, Parks and Rec Director, I think I'll sit right here still. Hopefully someday I won't have this boot and I'll be able to get up and move around. Anyway, you guys have my report. The only update I would have is, the second bullet point, the movie at the hall this past Friday was not very successful. I do the, reports sometimes prior to the event when I need to have them in, for the packet. It was very poorly attended. We'll need to reassess whether or not we do any more indoor kids movies. The reality of it is, with streaming and everything else, kids are seeing movies just a couple of weeks after they first come out. They get to see them early, they see them as often as they want, and I'm not so sure that that's something that we'll do going forward. Anyway, we'll reassess it and that's it. If you have any questions on any of the other items that are on there? Okay.
Cynthia, are we getting feedback there
I
or?
think from my phone, just. That helps. Sure, I have the sound all down. Is there something else?
Yeah, you turn your mic off.
Future going. How do I do that?
On the calls page, there should be a.
What? Just to mute? Okay, so that now we're not getting it.
There you go.
I know the word mute.
Thank you, Nick. Okay, continuing on, next item, mayor's report, also in your packet. I do want to make a comment on the last item in my activity report, which was a sneak preview of my fiscal year 25 budget request, and that I will be proposing a city administrator position. No details this month. We'll make the formal proposal at the January council meeting. Next up, engineering report. Shane?
Okay, Wix Engineering. My reports are in the packet. Are there any questions?
Okay. Moving on to number 6 on the agenda. Discussion and possible motion concerning Heartland Heights pond status and request from developers for an extension of the deadline for issuing building permits.
Bruce Sebig, Iowa Lot Development, here about the Heartland Heights permit requirements. We continue to work with the city on the punch list items that Shane Woodson sent to us probably about 2 months ago or so. The city staff, a few of the city staff and city engineer, we met with Ed Burge, who's in charge of the plantings. We met with him last week out there. He sent some recommendations that we still need to meet with the city on. And then there are some items with Bill Boland's drainage easement that we need to meet with Bill Boland on, and I believe Shane might be arranging that. So here to request an extension so that you can still issue building permits until we get everything resolved. Shane Wicks might have a better idea on a timeline or a recommendation on that.
I would recommend end of June. That would give them 3 months, once April, May, June, give or take, to address things this spring. That'd be my suggestion.
Beginning or end of June. Don't matter.
Whatever you guys feel like.
And then I guess I need to meet with Chris next week sometime with Shane Drader. We've had a meeting regarding the pond area, so we'll get an update on that and go from there on that portion of it. So if you want to do the end of June, that will give us an extra 30 days.
I would say the end of June, with that.
June 27th at 3 p.m.
Did I hear a motion out of that?
I'll make a motion for, the end of June, June
Second.
30th at 12:01.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
There we go.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
Me too.
See you, Bruce. Yep, take care.
Moving on to item number 7, discussion and possible motion concerning the employee benefits insurance policy renewals. Heidi?
Good evening. I'm Dean Zelli from Central Insure. In your packets, we've got the renewal. There's kind of an agenda that I went over with the mayor and city clerk a couple weeks ago. The renewal came in overall at a 7.9% rate increase. It's about where most of my ACA age-rated groups were this first quarter so far in 2025. With the same plan design as last year, we see no reason to change. It is a relatively rich plan of a $500 deductible, but that's pretty typical of public entities, school districts, counties, cities, and so on. So The overall increase is using 11 employees. We did have one, that's leaving at the end of December. So, the numbers are in your packet. Those are based off of 11 employees. We did look at other carriers besides United Healthcare, which is the renewal. Health Partners was another company we looked at. They're relatively new to the market as far as group benefits. They've been doing Medicare for 13 years, and they've been in Iowa about 10. But they've only been in Iowa for 3 years on group benefits, so their rate is a little bit lower than United Healthcare, but network is not nearly as strong. And there's some differences in co-insurance and so on. So it's something we're keeping an eye on for an alternative down the road. The Health Partners Unity Point is another company that is starting to come on in Iowa. But, right now, it's not as strong as United Healthcare or Walmart. The third company we looked at was Walmart. They unfortunately don't have as rich a plan as United Healthcare does with that $500 deductible. So, that would require an HRA, which would be a buy down or a partial self-fund. The lowest deductible plan they have is a $1,500 plan. And we could use an HRA to buy that down so that the employees would see no difference. They would still have their $500 deductible and $2,500 out-of-pocket max. That has to be administered by a third-party administration company. As the employees have their claims run through with Walmart, those will be sent to a third-party administration company to determine if the employees have met their deductible or not, and process the claims and bill the city for their part of the buy down. Typically, about 25% of the savings in premiums is actually used in claims. That would be one way to find out how many of the employees of the 11 that are on the plan are actually meeting their deductible. The plan doesn't pay anything until they meet their deductible. The packet you've got, there's a packet of stapled documents in there. The first one is the renewal. The Walmart is on page 5 and 6 of that document. If you want to locate an HRA option, there is less of an increase on that for the city versus United Healthcare. United Healthcare, we're at 7.9. If we did an HRA, even with the HRA, the health reimbursement expenses and the fees associated with that, it would only be a 1% rate increase. Some of the things we have to look at is the office co-pays, urgent care, emergency care, and those types of things are higher co-pays that the employees would have to pay until they met their deductible. So I'm not sure it's an exact good fit this year. 7.9%, it's a rate increase, but not as bad as some of the ones I've seen. As far as another option to look at is level self-funding. That is an option that can be used where all the rates are the same. One advantage for the city because it'd be a lot easier to budget. But you would have to actually have the employees fill out health questions, and it's like the old days where the underwriters would actually come up with a rate based on what they think the claims are going to be on the 11 employees. So you would not be part of the pool that you are currently now with the age-rated plans, but your pool would be your 11 employees. We've got several of our clients that do use health reimbursement arrangement and also the level self-funded. But as rich as your plan is with $500 deductible, you're going to see usage used quite a bit faster than most employers would have. And so we're not sure that would be a good fit. We are tracking claims just to see how we'll have more data for you next year to see how that would actually run if we did do health reimbursement arrangement or a level self-funded plan. So I guess before we move into the other ancillary benefits, does anybody have any questions on the health?
Can you elaborate a little bit more on why you don't like the network for Health Partners?
It's mainly new. A lot of doctors are not in network yet. We're seeing a dramatic increase in the last 12 months that have joined. But it's up to the doctors that are the providers on choosing the network. If they're with Unity Point, they have no choice. They're in network because that's a Unity Point plan. They do have PPO options, which is nationwide coverage, but their premiums are a little bit higher when you compare it to a narrow network. I don't like narrow networks because you're spread out, your employees are spread out, they're not just in one location. So it's not real good to do a narrow network. That's pretty much a call based off of what the providers will decide if they want to write these or do claims on that type of insurance or not. We're seeing some dramatic increases, so maybe next year it'll be more
Increases in GPs or specialists as well, or just all of it?
pretty much across the board. We always look at primary care providers first because that's the front line where most people go. As far as specialties, we really haven't run into any issues. University of Iowa, for example, is in, all the local hospitals are in network. So that's not the issue. It's the primary care physicians that are slow to join into that type of plan. It's just another carrier, another person that they got to file claims with, and they're just looking at more overhead. Is what I've been told by providers. Inside of the packet also, there are, on pages, 9 through 14 are the other plans that we offer. There's currently no one else enrolled in those plans. But if you wanted to see what the rates were, they're on pages 9 through 14. I think Cynthia's running them up right now of the different plans, that are available. If the employees choose to do those other plans, and basically they would pick one of those if they were adding a family and just try to keep their costs down. Currently, right now, everybody is on the $500 in their plan. With no questions, we can move on to the dental. That is with UHC also. It's the same plan design. It's 100% paid by the city. It's about an 8.4% or 8.38 or something like that percent. The city's budget in 2023 was 5414 for that. It goes to 5869 in 2024 if there's no increase in participation. That's based off of 11 employees. The vision was a rate hold. There's no change in the rates from last year for the vision plan. And it is also 100% paid by the city for the employees. The life insurance, the city pays for $25,000 worth of life insurance for each employee that has accidental death on it also. And that is also funded by the city. The rate increase on the life, 7.3, but if you look at the total budget, it went up approximately $100 a year for the budget. We have not gotten the renewal yet for Reliance Standard on the disability. So I don't know what those rates are doing. With our renewals that we have had, they've been pretty stable in the 4 to 5% rate change, but we have not seen a Reliance Standard renewal yet.
And the current premium for that's like $255 a month.
Yeah. So it's not a huge part, but it is still part of the budget. And then we do offer Colonial Life products, but that is 100% funded by the employee that chooses those benefits. And there's no rate change from current on the Colonial Life products. So they're locked for life once the employee signs up for those. So swinging back to the health, if you have any questions on an HRA option, if you wanted to discuss that a little further, or health partners, or if you're focusing back into just stay with United Healthcare.
I would say, in my opinion, I would say, since it's not that big of an increase, to stay with what we have and save the other options if we get a big bump and we really need to move.
Cause once you make that jump, you're done.
You're done, right? You took my thunder.
Sorry. Sorry, sorry.
No, that would be my recommendation also, is, let's keep that in our back pocket for when you need it. 7.9% is not fantastic, but I have seen a lot worse. I've delivered a lot worse this year.
How is our rating overall as far as insurance looks at?
Well, we're age rated, so it's not based off of claims, which is a good thing. And it's just based on what the national markets are doing and what the pools are doing and what the underwriters are thinking for claims. So you could have all 11 employees with cancer and it's not gonna change your rates. That's one advantage of the age rated, that if you have a thick employee or two, it's not gonna affect your rates for everybody else.
And with Kevin retiring, depending on who we hire to replace him, if the person is younger, there'll be a savings every month there, because of course, Kevin and I's premium are the highest.
As you're old.
Yep.
Ouch.
Older than her.
Careful. I think that. Yeah, if you have an employee that's younger, obviously the rates are gonna be low.
My only thought is we switched over to Health Partners. I understand it's a smaller network, they're expanding in the area. It's, what is it, if my math is correct, 14% swing in total premiums. It might be something to consider. I don't have huge concerns regarding coverage. Otherwise, I don't think we would do it over. I understand it's a newer provider. And the out-of-pocket maximum, even if it has a higher co-insurance, is only $500 more for an individual, so.
Yeah, the out-of-pocket maximum on this plan was 3,000 versus 25, but the
Yeah.
deductible was the same. And the co-insurance is 10%
It's
higher,
10% higher.
but you're looking at a rate reduction rather than an increase. You correct? Right.
I think it was what, 6.7 and then a 7.9 from the current, so it's what, 14.6, so. Yeah, I mean, that's only $20-some thousand roughly. But, food for thought. I mean, Joe probably hits his out-of-pocket maximum every year.
Well, and that's just it with age rated, it's hard to track that.
On his back.
Yeah, well,
He's our favorite monkey mover.
Thanks, Mike. I was starting to feel a little lonely.
well, if you compare the total budget on the renewal with the 11 employees, you get 134,763. And then with health partners, it's
116, I think, so
116, right.
18,000 difference, so. Yeah.
it's something we should keep an eye on maybe for next year. Let me do some more research on what's happening and with the clients that we do have on health partners. I've got a friend of mine who works for another agency that has put a lot of school districts on health partners since June. And he is saying favorable things so far, but one of the complaints has been providers.
You don't seem confident in that.
I'm not
Yeah.
yet. I'm getting there, but I'm not yet. Not like a UHC or a Walmart.
Mainly because of the providers.
Providers, and nothing can be worse than putting a plan in place for your employees and then they can't find a provider that they want to use for their primary care.
Yeah.
They won't be happy. One of the things we could do to look at is kind of track is when I'm doing the enrollment of the employees, just write down who their provider is. And then if they're not in network, we can prod them a little bit to look at joining the network so that they can be paid. And we could kind of track that for a year and see where we're at a year from now and make that decision if you want to move to health partners. And the rates have been good compared to UHC and Walmart. Hopefully they will stay that way, stay stable. It's a nonprofit based out of the Twin Cities is where health partners came from. Any other questions?
If not,
Thank you.
do we have a motion? What you want?
Or
The renewal for the, current plan that we have right now.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
I,
Aye. Goodbye.
I'm thinking,
You're thinking, okay,
that
okay, one day. The ayes have it. Thank you, Dean.
Thank you.
Moving on to item number 8, we have a public hearing regarding rezoning request for an annexation area. I'll open the public hearing. Chris, would you just provide a brief statement about what this is?
So this is the 170 acres, Terrero Iowa Land Company brought into the city a couple months ago. Looking for light industrial. We didn't receive any correspondence from the public one way or another at City Hall, correct, Cynthia?
Correct.
About the best I can tell you.
this is south of their property over at 76.
South and east, yes. One big block. I think there were 7 parcels.
So is there anyone here that would like to comment on that? In the public hearing? Any other discussion from the council?
Marion, I know you had concerns about what qualifies as light versus heavy industrial. Has some of those been concerns then?
I think we were kind of throwing that back on planning and zoning,
And that
weren't
was
we?
my next question.
And I don't know if anything's happened with that, has it?
No, we already had the agenda made up at the last council meeting, so it'll be on next month's agenda for P and C to start looking at. I did let them know it's coming.
So how farther they're going is to that south, they're not going east anymore, right? That's all gonna be Cedar Rapids.
Correct. Hard to know at this time.
At some point, you have to consider what all the industrial is doing to your volunteer fire department, that someday they might not be a volunteer fire department, and you might be looking at a career fire department. If that's the future that you wanna go to keep putting up these ginormous buildings,
Why do you say that, Becky?
because right now you have a volunteer fire department, so every single person of the 50 volunteer members we have a full-time job. So let's say you have an incident like they had in Marengo where this building explodes and you have to spend 3 days at this building. How many of these volunteer firemen that have careers are going to be able to stay there for 3 days to babysit some industrial mishap? You can't put a burden on volunteer fire departments and expect good results when you keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. At some point, you might have to go to a career fire department where you have firemen that are full-time, 24 hours, full-time a day instead of 24 hours every day volunteer, and we hope that you get some people to show up. Just because you have 50 volunteer firefighters doesn't mean you're gonna have 50 volunteer firefighters show up to a fire. But everybody has their own life. They do the volunteer to help communities. So,
And I think that's one of the reasons why we want to look at keeping light industrial really light.
correct.
We don't want to have any of these things slipping through that would be more heavy industrial uses under, because
That's right.
because we're big and we feel like we need to tighten that up. I don't think that was our intent, was to have anything heavy.
No, I understand. I'm just throwing that out there so everybody
Yeah,
knows how we stand.
or to go on Spanky's point, I'm with Corridor. Corridor's a combi department where my line officers are full-time, paid by the city, but we're still technically volunteer. Now, everybody knows how big Coralville is. And that is, we had a small house fire. There was not a lot of us that showed up. I mean, I was on shift. I was lucky I was on shift for that. There was one engine that showed up for that. So, I mean, that's the thing. That's just a house fire. If we, God forbid, have something like Marengo, I mean, I was there for hazmat on that call and we were there for a day and a half, and that was bad enough. So I mean, I think we do need to realize to rein in kind of what we're doing here.
And a couple of years ago, we spoke about annual inspections in the industrial and commercial, and I'd really encourage you to look back at that, because I think that'll go a long ways to preventing these kind of bring those situations where you have businesses doing things they probably shouldn't be doing. With an annual inspection, at least we're getting in there. Hopefully a team from the fire department can be involved in that, and we can catch this stuff before it does get to the point where it's a industrial accident or a major event. I will go a long ways to say we have a really good, in my opinion, industrial developer out there with Tavero. True. They are looking for fair right, and they're following the letter of the law, the rules, as far as that's concerned.
I was just throwing that out there so everybody's aware of it. Want people to just open up their arms and keep bringing businesses in without actually doing their homework and figuring out what kind of operation you're actually bringing to this community. Make sure it's something that's good and reliable and not just anybody that wants to throw money your way to buy land and you get profit. Yes. Because that's what you're in trouble. That's all I got.
Chris, to do annual inspections, is that a procedural issue or would it require an ordinance?
Yeah, we got a lot of stuff to do to get that done. Ordinances, adopting fire codes, finding a staff person, because it's not gonna be me. I'm not gonna learn the fire code. I've got enough on my plate. I'll assist on it. I certainly can't be the lead on it. But that's the steps, and we got time. I think it's not an emergency, but know that these buildings are the best when they're brand new. 20, 30 years down the road that's what we gotta be aiming at, planning for. Could be 5 years down the road. It could be, you never know. That's why they call it accidents, but know as those buildings get older that obviously with your house, you have more issues as they get older, so keep that in mind. As the city grows, these departments have to grow, the inspections have to grow. We can't, to Spanky's point, we can't just grow the one end of it. The other parts have to go with it, keep things in line.
Any other discussion during the public hearing?
Mary Ann, are you looking to pause on rezoning this until P and Z clarifies or refines what it should be allowed?
I guess I don't know if that's a Shane question. So if we approve this as light industrial as it stands on our books right now, and then we make changes that would maybe affect the usage that they had planned for that, is that, and we've gotten into that pinch before where we've made a change and then they said you can't probably make that change now because, do you know what I'm saying?
You can.
I think they had a submittal on the table at that time. Right now, we don't have a submittal on the table.
So if they'd already applied for a building permit, you're not gonna, and it was approved, you're not gonna be able to backtrack on that. But until they submit something, you can make changes. You may have to, at the time they submit, they have to go by whatever the current code is.
So that would be the thing, is we'd have to have whatever we want changed before they would come with the building permit request.
And you also, I think, could probably put a moratorium on submittals until you get through it. Asking for no submittals until we get through the changes to be made to the industrial.
So you could vote to switch it to light industrial tonight and then immediately put out a moratorium while P and Z figures out what specifically would be allowed. That way, I'm not saying it would, I'm just saying to prevent.
So there's gonna be a pause during.
The internet's kicking up.
But Shane, or Chris, that's
Kick
not
me out.
right, one meeting, P and Z meeting,
No, it's gonna be a P and Z.
Yeah.
I would anticipate
2-3 months.
at least, right?
on has Trevero given any indication that they're?
No, I don't think we have anything coming down the pipe anytime soon, but I don't know, I don't. You know,
The only good thing about it is it's Trevero.
Trevero owns property.
They're doing the development, so at least they're on the right side of what happens over there, so.
There is other industrial property in town, like industrial, and I haven't heard anything coming in on anything, but again, I don't want to. I don't know for sure, you know, you guys never know when they're gonna pop up.
Shane, what do you mean by the legal side? As far as putting a moratorium on it?
Moratoriums and things like that, and maybe a question I asked the city attorney.
Can we do it legally and what the ramifications are for two?
The only reason I throw it out there is when Palo switched from me to the county, there was a 3-week period where they wouldn't put a moratorium on building permits.
Why you made the
That's why
transition?
we made the transition back. And they simply did it at council meetings. Just. But I don't know if it's legal or not. Their attorney was sitting there, so I assume it was. Their attorney's at all the meetings.
Any other discussion for the public hearing? If not, I'll close the public hearing. Move on to item number 9. Consider ordinance number 88, amending the official zoning map and the zoning district boundaries. Rezoning this property from agricultural to light industrial. So consider a motion.
Oh.
Did catch that, I got the
Motion.
motion.
And I would second that.
Is that you, Mike?
Yes.
No, second.
Yeah. Okay, we can just move this, right? Just the ordinance, or do we need to roll call?
Yeah, do roll call for.
Okay. Roll call, Tom? 3 months back.
What's that?
You're still
We don't
thinking?
have to- Yeah, no, we don't have to skip, we don't have to, waive or suspend the rule, but I found it, we don't want to.
Let's do the first reading.
Yeah, we can just do the
Oh,
first reading.
first reading, that's right, yeah, okay.
Yeah, we're just on the first
That's right,
reading.
first reading, motion.
You're
Yes,
on.
yes.
Aye.
Right.
See, yes, I.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. So, first reading, move forward. Consider a motion to suspend the rules requiring 2 additional passages.
You get better bottom. Then, no, well, we're not voting, I guess. We're just-
Silent, is that, or,
Silence is good.
We'll double back.
so it sounds like we're not going to suspend the additional readings. So it'll, second and third reading will move to the January agenda. Thank you. All right, we have another public hearing regarding a zoning code change. Chris, I'll open the public hearing. Chris, if you'll give us some information first.
I would love to.
Number 10.
I'm not
This is what your primary buildings, I think.
yeah, that's the one I don't have with me. Cynthia, do you have that on the board?
I have the public hearing notice. Hang on.
Oh, this is the public hearing for it.
Yeah. But there I have,
Yeah, so P and Z spent months on this thing. Within our ordinances, the zoning ordinances, the way I read it, more than one structure was allowed in any lot. At P and Z level, we read it, the rest of the board agreed with me, so we went at it. To change this, so what they came up with is any residential lot, you can read it right there, more than one principal structure, you wouldn't be allowed to have 2 residences on a single lot, essentially, is what that comes down to. Commercial and industrial, they really spent a lot of time on and ended up with 2 separate use separate uses on one lot.
Chris, is there a typo here? Cause it says any commercial or residential.
Yes, that is a typo. That should be
That was,
industrial.
I was just about to.
Yes, that is a typo. That should be.
Okay,
Within those districts, there would only be 2 separate uses allowed on any lot. Any questions on that? Makes sense?
This brings up kind of what we had over here with global and, AT&T.
It could. I don't know how that began. I wasn't here when that situation began, but yeah, it very well could have. The P and Z went on, you'll see in section F there, building to have access. That's really getting into more what you're talking about, Tom, the, situation of ingress, egress easements. Essentially what that's saying is that they're not gonna be allowed. You're gonna have to have frontage on the public right of way for it to be considered a lot. And that's for residential. As you see there, it says 9 RF and 44 RF. Those are both residential districts.
Now, would that second paragraph that has the typo in it also apply to, like, say, Bushman's where you'd have to divide that parcel up?
Right.
Because they've limited it to,
Which he now has 2.
Yeah.
Separate uses on there. I'm trying to think if any other properties have it. Chocolate factory used to, but we took care of that already. Dairy Queen. Dairy Queen. Yes, there's one, that too. Yeah.
What about our property?
You're residential, correct?
Yeah, commercial.
You are commercial? Yeah, then you would have 2 separate uses right now.
We have 3.
You have 3, what's the third?
Well, we have our home and 2 businesses.
Inside, but they're already existing, so the grandfather. It's not gonna affect
Anything.
anything that's existing. This is for new, this is for new submittals, right? This wouldn't take anything away from anything anybody has.
Just change the future.
Correct.
Will that carry through if our property is sold? With the new owner?
I would assume, yeah, again, it wouldn't change anything that's existing.
I think in the zoning code, it talks about continuous usage.
Right.
So it doesn't matter who owns it, as long as the usage is continued. If it would stop for,
I think it's 6 months.
yeah, that's what, yeah, then it doesn't get to start up again. I'd have to check the code, make sure that that's 6 months, but I think that's what it is.
So you mean like, for example, in her parcel, if they would not have commercial for 6 months, then it would go away? If somebody else.
The
bought it?
grandfather part of it would go away, yeah. If it's a non-conforming use.
If we're zoned commercial, it would still go away, our commercial.
If any changes that we make to the code would then make your use or your property non-conforming, any property. If that non-conforming use stops for 6 months, then it can't start again. It can continue if it was in place beforehand.
So Barb could stay forever, but if she
I'm
sold
not,
it.
I'm not comfortable talking about a specific
Specific
property. The code reads, if your property, if a change makes it non-conforming and it was in place before that, you can continue unless it's stopped for a certain time. And like I'm saying, I think it's 6 months, but I don't have the code in front of me.
Okay, because we always, I know we always talk about things like it's been grandfathered in, so we just assume it's good to go forever.
oh,
But
my
that doesn't
understanding,
sound
That's not how the
my
code-
understanding is it's not forever, it's whatever the property owner is. While they maintain possession of, or the type of business or just the usage
Hold on
of
a
the
minute,
building.
hold on a minute. Spanky's trying to explain this to me.
Well, actually, we're talking, you don't get to interrupt us, you can wait.
Actually.
Actually, no,
Excuse
no.
excuse me. Okay, everybody stop, everybody stop. Okay. What I'm gonna ask is, Chris, could you find out what the code actually says and provide it to the council, not right this second. Not right this second.
Continue discussing. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so I'll have Chris find the code and present it to the council and to Barb. Is that fair? Does that impact what you want to put on here, or?
I just want to make sure that I'm understanding what happens so that I don't make an assumption that's not correct. Cause I'm assuming that as long as she lives there, that she can continue. But if she would sell it to someone else, I don't wanna just assume like, oh, it's grandfathered in, they can do whatever they want there. If that's like what we're talking about now, is that is not the case. If the usage would change, then perhaps what they're allowed to do would change. So
Well, and,
I don't wanna think something that's incorrect. I wanna
and
make
this
sure-
change is just about number of principal structures.
Right.
So she couldn't build a third principal structure.
Yeah, so this doesn't really,
It's not talking about business and residential mixed.
we're talking about something other than what this is.
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
Correct. Oh, we got a minor.
Oh, he's got his code book.
So like,
Okay.
Very so much.
Do you want to take pause for a second while he looks this up, or
Yeah, you guys keep talking.
keep talking?
I think of what we're looking at here and what we're talking about here are two different things.
Yeah, if you're saying we can have two primary structures, if there's three, it's grandfathered in. Once that changes, not, well, let me, two things. One, if it stays with the same owner, and then they stop using one of those three buildings for 6 months, assuming that's the correct amount, you don't get to start it back up. Is that how I'm understanding?
Yeah, now you're switching kind of to the uses. Let's say if they tore down that
That's where I
third
want to
one.
be sure. It's the usage within the building or tearing down.
We're talking about the building.
Okay. Yeah. So, to answer your question,
And I think, Barb, you just have two primary structures, right? The house,
Pardon?
you'd only have the two primary structures anyway, right?
She'd have four, wouldn't she?
We have four. We have the barn,
But that's not.
That's not a
Primary
primary.
structure.
and then we have our home,
The home and the shop,
shop, and the other shop.
for two shops,
The antique shop and then the body shop.
that separate structure, the antique shop.
is that considered a primary structure?
You don't
I was
live in
wondering
it.
what the definition of
Yeah, what
primary
is-
structure.
Do you have to live in your primary structure?
I would assume not, since we're
Not
talking about commercial.
Right.
We used to be zone commercial residential. And then that all changed, you had to be one. And so we had to then go with commercial because that's the way we bought the property was for the commercial piece. So we are zoned 100% commercial and we're taxed that way.
So back to the residential, if there's, I know at least one property in town where there's two residential properties on one parcel.
There's two houses.
Right, right. And actually, that's what the nationwide push is for, to do more of that. Go back to the Fonzie living over the garage kind of scenario.
Dial 911. But again, yeah, for the example you're giving, that would be even when grandfathered in, as long as one of the buildings don't burn down, they can continually do that. So for the first part of it, I think we're fine without it.
So what would the council like to do, or Chris, are you coming up with it at the moment, or
Well.
let's research it after the meeting?
But I'm not finding the section that Cynthia
Okay.
is referring to.
Non-conforming, it's towards the back of the building.
It's page 40, but I don't find it page 40. Not under the additional regulations, is it?
Towards the back. Yeah, yeah, I mean.
So let's move on, we'll research that and provide it to the council based off of what you know. What would you like to do? You want, I'm gonna close the public hearing. Council want to make a motion, or do you want to table it until you receive the additional information? What would you like to do?
We come back a later meeting after he's looked into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's table it till later. If we find some.
Can we do that midstream, Cynthia? Sure. Sure, okay. Okay,
Well, we're done with 10, let's move 11, right?
yeah, we're done with 10, we're done with the public hearing.
And you're just gonna skip 11 for right now.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna skip 11 for the moment. Okay. Moving on. Item number 12. Consider resolution to file plans, specifications, form a contract, estimated cost, bids, public hearing date of January 9th, and open bids on January 24th for water main extension under the Union Pacific Railroad. So, Don, you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, this project kind of went hand in hand with that Prairie Creek crossing that we did this last summer. We finally got the approval from Union Pacific to move forward with this, so get the ball rolling on it, start the bid letting process. The January next council meeting will be public hearing, bid opening on January 24th. And hopefully the award bids, then February council meeting, start construction in April. Any questions? What are you going under that? There were low C curves to the east. Going straight south through to the west end of the railroad street. With the gap in the water main there. On and yeah. Two extra on it. Yeah. Gotcha.
Any other questions for John? If not, need a motion to adopt this resolution? Second?
Second.
Roll call, Mary Ann?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Move on to number 13. Resolution to enter into an indemnification agreement with Bell and Africa Family Farm. Shane's gonna say a couple words about why we're doing this.
This is the agreement with Frank Bellin and Nancy Africa on the property life donation that they had made to the city of Fairfax. And Frank was just concerned that something happened with the upcoming wall project and water supply treatment projects that they could be brought into it, where they want to limit their liability. So that's basically what this agreement is, to indemnify the property owners. For the construction in the city's maintenance operation of the property.
And the attorneys have reviewed everything.
Both the regular and the bonding attorney. And today, on the claims is the bill to add as additional insured, but that was just $35. So the main thing is getting the agreement in place.
All motion.
Oh, second.
Roll call, please, Tom?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Item number 14. Consider ordinance number 89. I think we need Chris on this. This is block regulations. This is one of the things that council had asked Chris to research, so let's skip past that. So, pardon
me? Is he not in his chair?
No.
No.
He's still looking for that.
He's
Okay.
looking and go, so let's go past item number 14 then. We'll come back to that one as well. and move on to number 15, discussion concerning fiscal year budget, which will be our budget year that starts with July 1. These presentations will be at a high level, just gives the council opportunity to ask questions. But no decisions are going to be made until our special budget meeting in January. So with that in mind, library, you're up first. Looks like we have a board member.
First library board. We've got a $22,000 increase that we're proposing. Probably a little less than half of that is salaries. And part of that salary increase is or a little bit of adjustment in one of the employees, Jackie. We had some of hers was, we had in a different spot, unfortunately. So we moved it around, so salaries, were roughly a 3 to 4% increase. And this is just an estimate. I mean, we don't know what the city's going to want to align with whatever, you've decided to do, as far as increases. That is what was included in the wages. And then there's some miscellaneous, sort of inflation-based things we put in here, as far as insurance and some of the other miscellaneous items. We did create some money around to, and this is one lot that Cynthia, I think, talked to you about how you want to do it, but wanted to put $5,000, take it from miscellaneous and put it in as something we're going to call mixed digital media. So we don't know what budget number or category we want to put that in, but it would be a type of that, and we don't have to get just a clarity there. So that's essentially our budget. Any question? Thank you.
Okay,
I know,
fire department.
Okay, so most of you know how the budget for the fire department works. We're off a tax base for our townships. The townships can only be charged 60 3/4 cents per $1,000 evaluation for all the property in the townships that we cover. We cover Fairfax Township and part of Clinton Township, so that salary is, or that income is based off whatever the property value they give Cynthia at the end of the year when all this starts. So that's how we get our dollars from the county properties that we cover. In the cities, a long time ago, when I took over as chief, one of the things I did was I went to the city of Walford and asked them to start paying more in taxes. And I don't know what year it was, but Fairfax and Walford both agreed to pay $1 per $1,000 evaluation for the cities. So that's how our budget is based on the fire department. And then we go through the monies that we get and divide it into medical supplies, equipment for the trucks, bunker gear, protective clothing, that kind of stuff for all the firemen. When we purchased our last truck, I went to the city of Walford and asked them for more money to help offset the cost of that truck. So Walford offered to give us another 43 cents per $1,000 evaluation to help purchase another truck. And that's kind of where we're at for our dollar evaluation there. So we received a raise for responding on calls after COVID. And obviously the value of everything went up on what we're getting paid. So our workman's comp bill is now $18,000, where before it was absolutely hardly anything.
$18,000 higher.
$18,000 higher. So one of the things that I would like to do, ask the council for the budget would be to give the fire department 20,000 out of local option sales tax that we could use to make our truck payment, and then our regular budget would soak up all the money for the workman's comp.
And they currently get 30,000 from the Fairfax loss, go
Correct.
towards that.
That
So the-
started in 2011, I think, or 2010, when the loss first started, and we purchased a truck, and the city agreed, yeah, we can do that, so.
And the city of Fairfax's levy is still the $1. Walker's
Correct. It was-
is $1.43, but then also Fairfax kicks in the 30,000 from loss.
So you're asking for 20,000 in
So-
addition to the 30,000,
Correct,
for a total of 50,000 from
Correct.
lost.
and I know the city has the money in the local option sales tax. And if they're not gonna spend it on anything else, why not spend it on public safety? Years ago, we were told that the city would like to keep $100,000 in the local option sales tax. Kidding. And I know now that it's not all being spent, so, you know, what a better way to spend it? Either that, or you take all the money that you're paying us to go on these calls, that they go $20 and you can cut that back to nothing, and then don't have to worry about like 18,000 extra dollars. Just an option. But,
Food for thought.
right, I know some people probably don't like that they get paid at all, but they don't get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to go help somebody clean up their vomit off their kitchen floor. So, in that, for the rest of our budget is all divided into 2 truck payments, medical supplies, medical training, fire training, equipment, office supplies, building maintenance. And I'm sure you all have the list, so you know where it all goes, but
And they do have 2 savings accounts. When they get a donation, it goes into, it's just a regular donation into the regular savings, and they have used that each year to supplement, to buy equipment or, you know, extra things. And then they have another savings account if somebody donates for fireworks, and that money completely pays for the fireworks, not the regular budget.
yeah, no tax money goes to fireworks. It's all donated money.
How's that savings account doing? Just curious.
How's what?
Is that savings account going for the fireworks?
It's dwindling down.
It's going. That's something that you'll have to discuss when it's time to redo the insurance, because I was informed by an insurance man today that if we go to, oh, what is it, EMC, that they do not cover fireworks
Right.
at all. So you would have to get a whole different insurance policy to cover your fireworks display and the people lighting them, because he specifically called me today just for that reason, to ask me if our pyros were actually certified to do this, or we're just a bunch of happy people that like fireworks. And I said, no, we're all certified. He said,
We have some certified,
well, yeah, but the point is, EMC won't cover it.
so that could be, the certification could end up being a problem. The other issue is our equipment for shooting fireworks is getting old, dated.
But that's a whole other time.
Yeah, so that, it's going down.
Yeah,
Typically, we get about 16,000 in donations each year. That's pretty close estimate.
We didn't get that much this year, did we? 16,000, did you get that much this year from
I think
donations?
so.
We haven't been shooting that much product. We try to get a little bit of the slush funds for equipment and in case we get a rain event.
So when we shoot, we had to shoot 14,000 this year.
I was gonna say, it wasn't far.
We didn't take 16,000 in.
Yeah, we shoot about that, but we don't.
And this was the year everybody gave us money because I knew we didn't.
Yeah, and then the rain.
Yeah.
Right, because you get the street dance, money as well from the
This year we did,
This year we did.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
You don't really need fireworks.
Why would you look at me when you say something so hateful and wrong?
That's just.
Any questions for me? But that's what I'm looking at, so, you know, and if you wanna give away more lots of money, we're pricing another truck, so you.
What do you think you have an update on that?
What's that?
What do you think you have an update on that, the truck?
Oh, we gotta send out bids, it's gonna be at least 2-3 months.
Well, not before the budget meeting in January.
Yeah, well, this would be something that we would have to worry about for the following year, not for this year. Nothing change between now and then.
Or not?
Anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Julie, I know I'm supposed to be done, but thank you for reminding me of something. Can I do one more thing?
You forgot something?
Yes, I
Sure,
did.
go ahead, go
They're not
ahead.
gonna have me do this next year because I forgot.
Okay.
And I haven't paid it.
You're fired, okay. Go ahead, Bruce.
We had, and Bill and I all disagree with what Spanky said about the local option sales tax. We're gonna do that with our fire department, because that, I agree 100%, that's very critical. You reminded me though, that we talked about the potential of asking for the local option sales tax, that money to use to do, and I'm not sure if this is the right term, so Shane, tell me if that's right, but work with Shane to get an architect's rendering, something to clarify a bit more of what we want to do with the library in our CIP plan. It's in the libraries, it's in the plan at 9 years now. And I know we're going to talk about CIP at the end of this. We want to kind of bump that forward a little bit. But one of the elements that we'd like to do is to start to clarify what those costs are. We've been there at $40.5 million right now. That was just a broad number pretty far out. So we'd like to clarify that a little bit and get it, put it before the council, to kind of understand what is the real plan and when should it fit in and when does it, so we just get more clarity on all that. So we've been gathering input from the community, and that's been very positive, but obviously the cost is a huge element. So we wanted to kind of get that clarified down to what do we really want to do? I mean, is it just adding on to the building? Is it starting something brand new, getting some, more concept to it versus just this broad, $4.5 million way out there. Anyway, just wanted to get that in there.
So do you have a dollar amount request for?
We're estimating somewhere between 20 and 25,000.
Okay.
And again, that's something, that we can, work with Shane to get maybe more clarity on what an architect's rendering would potentially be. We haven't worked yet together. We want to bring it to close, but, we want to cut it forward. Anyway, thank you.
Okay.
Any questions on that, I guess, first? Thank you.
Okay. All right, council, would you like to continue with the budget proposals or go back and pick up where we skipped?
Circle back.
Go back? Okay. All right, so we're going back
I do have a good one.
to
Oh,
11, where we're talking about one primary structure on residential lots and 2 primary structures on commercial lots.
right, and then it developed into conversation about non-conforming uses.
And grandfathering, et cetera.
I'm gonna read that section to you. If any such non-conforming use of land ceases for any reason, for a time period of more than 180 days consecutive, or 12 months in any 18-month period, any subsequent use of such land shall conform to the regulations specified by this code for the district in which such land is located. Perfect. Yes. So 180 consecutive days or 12 months within an 18-month period. You're no longer grandfathered. I can tell you, nobody on staff is out there counting the days.
Right.
So for that to actually come into effect, I know the chocolate factory was out of its zoning class for a long time before it's corrected. Long time. I really think it's not gonna be an issue. What the goal of the P and Z on this issue is for new submittals, trying to prevent situations such as happened in Maringo. where you have several businesses operating on one parcel, subleasing, and nobody really knows what's going on.
How would this affect, Trevero?
Torero right now has, individual parcels for the warehouse and an individual parcel for the regen site.
Okay.
Other than that, I have no idea how it could affect them. Other than they wouldn't be able to have more than 2 separate uses on any given parcel, if this is passed.
2 separate uses, not structures,
Structures with those uses, exactly, separate.
because Regen has 2 structures, correct?
No, regen has 1, there's a breezeway between the 2 buildings, which
Oh.
makes it 1 building.
So it makes it 1.
But either way, it's the same business. So
Right.
this wouldn't affect any business that wants to add a second building for their business. That's the same use. They're just expanding their business on their property. That this does not affect that. What it does affect is if you have your business going here and you have a parcel that can fit another building with a separate use, that would affect that. You could have 2 of them, but any more than that, you need to subdivide them. And then you could do 2 more after you subdivide it on that separate parcel.
Any questions for Chris on that? So we're back to item number 11A, considering a motion to approve the first reading of this change.
And I would just point out the typo correction, it will be in any commercial or industrial district.
I'd make a motion with those corrections.
And I will second that motion with those corrections.
Okay. Roll call, Marion.
Aye.
Right.
Aye.
Motion carries. Would you like to consider a motion to suspend the second and third readings?
Motion to suspend. I'll second.
Roll call, please, Tom.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. So all 3 readings have been approved.
No, that's just,
We
that's
can't
just
do it all.
suspending the
Yeah,
rules.
motion to suspend the final reading.
Okay,
And I'll second that.
yeah, one more. Okay, gotcha. Roll call, please. Marion.
Aye.
Nay.
On the third one?
On third one.
He's a nay on the third one. Okay.
Aye.
The ayes carry it. So now all 3 readings have been approved this evening. Okay. Then Chris, we skipped over item number 14, your sidewalk regulations.
Okay,
So we're ready for you. Are you ready?
yeah, I'm ready. Go ahead and put it up there. It's here for you to read. I don't, do you have questions on it?
Could you-
Do you want me to read it to you?
Could you go to the podium, please? Or just tell us what you did.
This is the 3/4 of an inch thing we were talking about last council meeting. Essentially what we did is when we put the criteria for 3/4 inch, whether it be a crack, a spall, any kind of deviation of 3/4 inch. We changed that. I changed the fact that council would no longer have to be the one to request these repairs. It would happen at staff level. Through certified mail, it would give them 1 year to get it done. We kept in there the fact that if it's not done within 1 year, that the city could actually do the work and then do the tax assessment thing. That's the changes you're seeing here, within the sidewalk ordinances.
You have section 136.08. What that reads, 136.08.
I can go get it. 130.
That's the standard.
That's to
Standards, yeah.
That's to that standard. So you're looking at a 4-foot sidewalk, turnaround space, all that stuff, right? Right, and we're gonna, regardless of anything, we're gonna hold up the standard. To date, we've been in the older developments where the sidewalks are 3 feet. We're gonna continue to let them be 3 feet, but in the driveway section, they're gonna have to be 5 feet. I mean, we've been doing that before I was here, even I think we're doing it. Other than that, we're driving rebar now through the sidewalk. It, I think, has made some improvements. We'll see. Really ain't gonna be able to tell for another 10 years probably to see if that's working or not, but so far it seems to be helping. pretty minor stuff, I mean, basic sidewalks. Give some, language about the rock underneath, you know, you're not pouring the sidewalk on the grass. I believe. That's the best section.
No, you're there.
I'll motion.
I'll second.
Oh, gosh.
Okay, that's an ordinance, so we need a roll call, please, Tom.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Moving on, to item B of that same ordinance. Motion to suspend the ruling, for 2 council meetings.
If you have any concerns on this one? Motion to suspend.
I'll second.
For the second reading, okay, roll call, Mary.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, and then the third reading,
Motion to suspend final reading.
This is to give final approval.
Okay, well then that.
Yeah.
Then I'll second whatever you said.
okay, roll call, Tom.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. We now have an ordinance. And we'll continue on with the budget proposals. Chris.
I'll ask for the podium, I hope tonight. My budget's the same as always, I think we have 10,000 in there for seeding in prairie establishment within developed farms. Eventually, we kind of get some monies built up for that, we did it last year. Council approved the 10, ended up taking 5 back for something, I don't remember what, but we're in fine shape one way or another on that. We're probably years out from developing the African, native prairie establishment anyhow. I would advise we don't put anything in for sidewalk scanning. Leave that alone this year. That's really all I got, right?
So Chris, is the 10,000 every year we're building the bank up, or?
But that agreement, I believe, Shane, is 64 acres.
Yeah.
It's a substantial piece, and that seed is expensive, very, very expensive
So we're at,
currently. So by the time we go to buy that, it doesn't matter to me one way or another, I just thought it'd be a good idea, maybe to get some money set aside for it.
sure, start building it up.
We could dip into it, we're gonna be doing some temporary seeding up there this spring with the well project, we'll probably dip into those funds at that time. To put the temporary seeding in, you know, instead of using other funds. But as that project gets closer, yeah, we'll get a lot better idea of numbers. I probably won't be here by the time that happens. But it's good to have it, I think, on the books. It lets the community know that we're committed to that in the Bell African farm over there.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Africa.
All right, Parks,
Sorry.
please.
All right, well, I appreciate everybody for allowing me to give this from my chair here. No matter what Mike thinks. So I guess the only thing I can tell you about parks usage is that every year we continue to have more people use our parks. Part of it is because we continue to grow as a city, and that's where families like to spend their time, is in the parks. We also have a new park since last year. We're up to 8 parks in our park system throughout Fairfax, which is a pretty good sized system for a town as big as we are, even though we continue to grow. Our sports programs continue to grow, and not just youth sports, but also our adult sports. And they will in 2024 as well, with the disc golf course, the updated disc golf course in there. I don't know if you noticed in the report that I had, but the first snow of the season, we still had people playing disc golf. They just took a snow shovel with them and shoveled off the tee pads, and then they played. So not even the snow have slowed those people down. So as I look at some of the budget priorities, and I know, Tom, you'd like to know about priority, what's priority number 1, priority number 2. The priorities that the parks has for this year, and this came from also meeting with the Parks and Rec Board. Priority 1A and 1B, there's really not much of a difference between these, are the brick and mortar restrooms at Prairie Creek Park, which is where our disc golf course starts now. And will probably have much more, use than it has in the past. And Heartland Heights, which, as, if you remember last year, we cut, some things out of the original plan to get into budget, and we talked about phase 2 for Heartland Heights. And so 1B would be the brick and mortar restroom at Heartland Heights, along with the cost of a pavilion. Heartland Heights, by the way, if you're not familiar with this, is also a bus stop. On that corner where that park is at is also a bus stop. So having a pavilion there and an outdoor restroom, but a brick and mortar restroom, I think really makes a lot of sense because of the use that it's getting. Because of where Heartland Heights is located, which is on the other side of 151 and 80th Street, that really is not a neighborhood park right now. It's a destination park for those people in that area. So no matter how, if you live in the Heartland Heights area, no matter how far you live away from it, that's still the park you're going to use. So that's 1A and 1B as far as the priority list. Then we go to the complex. Now, the complex had an electrical upgrade this summer, and that's been completed. What priority number 2 would be the cost of an amphitheater in that area. And we've talked about the amphitheater in the past. And part of the allure to an amphitheater is not only could people use it as another pavilion, as we are desperately short on pavilions. Our pavilions are booked all the time for family reunions or birthday parties or whatever they want to use them for. The pavilion or the amphitheater could be used for that, but it's also can be used for the Music in the Park series that continues to gain ground that we have outside. They could have weddings, it could have whatever we could imagine to hold outdoors, we could hold it there. Speaker series could still be out there. And then our final priority, which is number 3, is updated tennis and pickleball courts. Now, in the CIP that we have that is 5 to 10 years, or I'm sorry, 2 to 5 years, we have phase 1 of the complex from where the soccer fields are over to 151 of that being developed with additional sporting venues or whatever type of venues we want to use. I know that those conceptual drawings can always change, but one of the things that's in that conceptual drawing are 2 tennis courts on the east side of the parking lot, the new parking lot, and the west side of the splash pad and south of Lynn Street. We could start doing that part of the upgrade today without needing to do anything else, without needing to make the parking lot any bigger or anything like that. And just those 2 things, the tennis court, and then today it's 2 tennis courts. I would recommend one of them become a pickleball court where we have 4 pickleball courts, and we would have that full all the time, just like we do now over at the at City Park, that we have portable tennis courts out there or portable nets out there for the pickleball courts. So those are our 4 priorities that we would like to see in the park system. And I think those upgrade the parks. Well, the first 2, the portable, or not the portable, but the brick and mortar bathrooms and the pavilions, I believe complete those parks. Because I don't believe those parks are quite done yet until we have those features there. But the amphitheater and the pickleball and new tennis courts, those would be definitely upgraded amenities to the park system that we have now.
Any questions for Joe? Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Maintenance Department, Lynn.
Yeah, so kind of same thing, I won't go through everything or read through everything, we'll kind of skim through it like that, but feel free if you have any questions. Stop me if you ask, go ahead. But yeah, the same as always, a pretty similar format that I've been doing for the last few years. First part's kind of talking about the wages, a little bit of employees, the certifications they've had in the last year or so. kind of what we recommend for the salary increase and kind of how I came up with that. So that's kind of what that plan is. With the truck plan, nothing really changed on that. We aren't asking for a new additional truck. The dump truck that we did, that was approved here this year, should be arriving, they say it's supposed to be kind of early summer. I'm guessing it's probably gonna be later in the year, but it's hard to tell yet, but that is still in process and on the way. Lawnmower rotation, it's kind of something we didn't do last year, we skipped a year. So it was in the current budget, we just purchased that, so that we already did it for this year, so we just got it in the fall. We're kind of covered right now. The existing mowers are doing pretty good shape. Hopefully there won't be any addition or any issues with them, so maybe we'll even be a chance to skip a year, but I'd like to keep that in the budget just in case until we kind of find out how they handle and how they keep going. This next year, but even in that comment with the mowers, kind of give you an idea, we would do over 100 acres a year, or 100 acres of city property throughout the year. And that doesn't account some of the ditch work that we also do, which back in around 2014, we were had about 45 hours, man hours per week mowing. Currently, we're doing over 76 man hours per week mowing, and that does not include like little lagoons and some of the ditch work that we do on occasion. So there's a lot of mowing out there. So down in the state, we'll talk on the CIP about the Union Pacific. We've already kind of talked about it earlier. Really still recommend keeping that going. Maybe we talked about, or maybe add a little bit to the street repairs. Last year we spent, what was it, 11,000 just on crack sealing. And then if you remember that bid, it was only half what we did, or we only did half of what was quoted, and that was only for about a third of the town. So I kind of threw another $5,000 in there, maybe to do a few more repairs before that. And that doesn't even count for the breakups that we have in the concrete or other repairs. So continue, we've been doing about 80,000 in the chicken seal each year. Last year was a little bit for that area because there wasn't as much damage. Prior year, we did a few less streets. This year, not sure yet. We'll find out through winter what happens. 80,000 should be covered. We're still kind of doing storm sewer inspections when we get a chance. We haven't done as many as we did last year, but we need to get going back into that. But there's a few that need repair. We're still trying to do them in-house whenever we can to try to keep that cost down. Ben mentioned on the paint striping, we gotta get back into doing some of that. That might be a little bit more cost, but budget's been handling it, so it should be no problem. And of course, every year I kind of come up with some different equipment. Throughout the years I've been here, we slowly gaining equipment here and there now, get our in-house projects done and be able to complete them easier for the maintenance staff. The one thing I'd really kind of like to do is that first item is brine maker. The new dump truck that we're ordering will be kind of prepped for that. Doesn't say we have to use it completely on that, but it will have a pre-wet system built into that truck. So with the DNR and everybody trying to get a little more environmental safe, they try to have the cities, especially the smaller cities, tend to still use the salt and sand mix. Not saying we'll get away from it, but the brine kind of helps ease that amount that we use if we kind of pre-wet, and it kind of softens it up, so a little less salt environment. It gets down into the streams and the groundwater. But eventually I have a feeling that in the next 10 years, you might see some more regulations on that. So this is kind of a little bit of an easy stuff to get in there. With the brine maker that we're looking at, they make so many different machines. Anywhere from a guy that does it out in his backyard for plowing, he has a little small machine, around $9,000. Very labor intensive. Not the greatest. The mid-range is at 40. About $35,000 to $40,000. It's a little bit more technology, kind of self-sufficient. You can still move the machine with a skid loader, so it's kind of a smaller unit. The DOT is hitting hard on the Henderson machines, and that was at 70,000 plus. It's a little more intense, all automated. There's more storage costs that would be involved in that, and it would take up a little landscape, and it'd take up some building space, which we really don't have. So I don't think that's even feasible right now for us. So I'm kind of looking at that mid-range machine. I found a couple different ones on it. That's one machine.
Lynn, what do you spend now on salt and sand?
The total cost for that, I can't think of that offhand, get about 100,000 tons for salt every year. Is what we have. We have a storage area for it. Last year, we did not order that much because we had some left over from the prior year. So if I can bank it, store it, I try to keep that.
So if you switch to the brine system, what does that do to the cost or the amount of salt that you have?
You will still probably have similar costs that I don't know. I'm not sure.
So it doesn't save you any salt by going to that other system? It doesn't go, the brine doesn't go farther or save you, try to see what the advantage is
Go
then.
further. It should go further. But I'm not 100% how far, how much.
So can we look into those kinds of things? Because for a $40,000 investment, if it doesn't do any more than what we're doing now,
Right.
I just don't see where you're.
Theoretically, you're supposed to use less sand. So we don't have to buy
You're
sand.
putting less sand in, less storm, less stuff that's getting into the stream environment.
So can you guys kind of figure out what that looks like? Cause
In-
I'm trying to figure out why it's worth spending $40,000 to do that if
Sure.
it's not saving us anything.
Sure, I can do some investigating. I'm not sure how precise or accurate it'll be, but I can get you something first.
Okay.
You need to have labor for that too, to do the pre-wet, right?
Labor kind of really went adding even more labor to it because it's still the hit a button and it switches.
So you store that in like a plastic tank or what happens with that?
It'd be just a tank. The water tanks.
And then you'd load it into the trucks, some kind
Yes,
of
they could
reservoir.
actually- For now, I was even thinking of possibly leaving it in the machine, just making as much as we can use out of that machine, because it actually has a tank that's full. So from there into your sprayer, and then it'll go out. So there's still more thought process on that.
Okay.
But this is kind of.
It's just an expensive item for not, for.
Yeah, yeah. No, I get it. But yeah, it's hard to, it's even for me over the years. Changing over to it, yeah, I've been kind of skeptical, but yeah, there's a push.
Yeah, I guess I would like to see, are we to that point where we need to do that, spend 40 grand?
Well, it's not really an economic decision, it's an environmental one. I mean, I think we need more information on the
That's
cost of
what
it. I agree, on the cost of it. The question is,
Cause it would seem to me like it'd be less salt than if it's in a brine, but that's
Should
not.
be less salt depending on how you use it, how you apply it and so forth.
the question is at what point, if there is one, does the DOT or whomever require it? Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that means we should jump on this.
For the
I'm just
people
saying-
that are using it, they say that's a huge difference, but I'm not.
I would say it's more of a DNR issue than it would be a DOT, they can't handle.
Yeah, it's a DNR requirement, EPA. Well, DOT does, would not regulate it. Some places I know, some towns even actually go to the DOT and buy it from their larger facility,
So they don't have to make it.
so they don't have to make it. And some of the facilities do a swapping, you supply the salt, we supply the brine, so they win, they make profit on that, but
Okay, I just think we need some more information.
sure.
That's pretty high dollar. to
Yeah,
get.
I agree. That's kind of leaning that way, just kind of trying to figure out what type of machines and how to do it, at what point do we do it. But I think we're kind of getting there. I think there's a need. I can come back with more information. And next couple pieces of equipment are other kind of one switch list. Power angle broom is just another attachment for the skid loader, just to help her clean up for construction projects. You can also use it for cleaning up the trails in the winter for snow and so forth. Personal basket. This is an attachment to the new Dodge service truck that we got this last year. It would be a one-man basket attached to the crane. Just give us a better access for higher up stuff and reaching out further.
It's attached to the current crane that's on it.
The current crane that's on it.
What's your reach?
35 or something.
It's, the crane's 30, gets you to 37-foot height.
Oh, wow.
So
So you gotta do is hold it up in the end of the crane and you're in business.
yeah, last year I think Brian came up with a lift, kind of like a scissor lift that you could attach to a skid loader. And it was actually kind of the same cost. But in our mind, this kind of made more sense.
Safer.
Yeah,
Does that service body have outriggers on it?
yeah.
Yes. Okay.
So and that was kind of that. And the angle broom, the basket, and actually that last item, the landscapes here. I'm not sure if we can do it all out of personal or out of individual budgets, but it should be close for that. The landscape seeder is one of those items where right now when we seed stuff, it's either a walk behind cedar like you use at your house or a hand cedar that we can walk around and see. We do have an antique 3-point cedar, John Deere. It works currently, but it's antique. Don't think you get any parts for it, but she works. And then when you go to drag it, the seat in, it's just a grab the Kubota or lawnmower with a drag and the harrow in. And so it's a little primitive, not a bad way to do it. It's a little more time consuming. This cedar would be a 8-inch metal on a skid loader. It's got a cold packer on the bottom of it. So it's a little bit better. And it also could be, it has a conversion for a 3-point. So if you didn't have the skid loader, you could also put on the 3-point tractor. And with
How do you service all the poles right now? Circling back on the other one.
repeat that,
How do you service your poles now? Do you ladders or what do you use?
the poles are like the lights.
Lights and stuff, yeah.
The Christmas lights, we have that basket on the front of the tractor backhoe. And we can reach up to 16 foot in it when no person's up in it.
So you guys are in the front, like a front end loader more or less?
Yeah. So. As we changed the Christmas decorations, when we did electrical on there, we made them lower it. So we could actually reach everything without. Causing issues. So, yeah, with landscapes here, as we're looking at that, that might even be something I may even try to buy in the current budget if I can, but I think I will be able to, I may bring that up in the next month or two, but, so that may change. But that's kind of the highlights, kind of quick. But
I would just like to make 2 points in their budget. You know, the truck that they have ordered, I remind you that we put in 100,000 in this budget out of loss. The next year in 25, which is the budget we're starting to talk about, that will become 200,000. And then in the parks, road use, water and sewer, this year, they all have 25,000, and next year they're all going to 50,000. So we'll have 400,000 available, right, Lynn? Is that?
sounds right.
Yeah, oh, and the other point I was gonna make is that 55,000 that he mentioned about the seal coat for the streets coming out of Levy, that has made such an improvement in your road use fund balance. It's hard to tell you how much of a difference that's made. I would highly recommend keeping that in loss.
After our last census, we got more road use money too, didn't we?
Right.
And at some point, I think I even mentioned in there, at some point, we still need to get together and, you know, do more streets in the old part of town. They have, get the bottom, like Church Street, some of the other streets have been.
Oh, we're trying to do better though.
Okay, thanks, Lynn.
All right, thanks.
Moving on to water and wastewater, Brian.
Okay, the first three, were originally, the Kevin and Lynn used to do theirs together on the same side, separated out this year, so. The first three came from previous lists, future drinking water well treatment plant to continue with that, obviously. Sewer line rehab, that was on the list, through discussion this morning with, Joanne, Shane and whatnot, they decided that, they wanted to try and he's gonna put 150,000 a year on the CIP list. So, that seemed like a good place to start. I'm in the process of trying to figure out how far that will go, so hopefully I'll have some more information, but I'm trying. And then the siding indoors for the pump house, up at the water tower, the current building is, what is it, 22 years old, 23 years old, something like that, so it took a hit, the ratio, some of that damage was replaced, but it was, spot damage, and, siding on it now is pretty brittle, so it don't take much to break it. So we were suggesting replacing siding, and the service doors are rusting pretty good. One set has, due to it being in the chlorine room, has rusted all the way through. And we have put rubber gloves in there to protect the air from coming in the winter time to make it cold inside. Just limping that one by, but we had intended on trying to do that before, and it just never happened because one got put for other priorities that were higher than that. So. Next thing was a AML Pro subsurface locator. That is a handheld locator. The project I had where we were trying to find the curb stops that are not currently located on the GIS system. We're down to 20 some that we were unable to locate through the means that we have through us now. And I ran across this locator thing that would help, if not take care of that for us. Not only just for that, but it'd be used for locate several other things. There's some other different items that can be used to locate the water lines, but they're only specific to the water lines. And I didn't really feel that was necessary to go that route. I thought this might be better because it can be used for locating underground like storm sewer pipes, so that if you don't know where they're at, it would show up. They say claim it even goes down to finding fiber lines that you can find, so just looking at that, that might help that process out. The next thing is the hydrant buddy. We've been looking since I've been here. It's been mentioned between Kevin and Lynn about starting an exercising program on the valves. That's for in case we need to shut the water down in certain places. If you don't exercise them, you go to try and use them and they don't work right. You might not get the water shut off to that area, or you're gonna shut off several blocks of an area to get it done. So we've been looking to try to get that started. This is a one-man tool that can be used to do that. It's basically a geared down drill that will run, Milwaukee type drill that will run and it's geared down enough that will put some strap on it so it'll run up and down. So some of the valves require about 80 turns. Some of them are gonna be in excess of 200 turns to complete the exercise, and that's only opening and closing it twice. So I was looking for that. The next one came to my mind after I was that far down the line, the well 3 rehab. 2017, the well was rehabbed with Kevin and Lynn. I was not a huge part of it at that time, but when they did that, I remember talking about that it was done. I look back, it was done in 2010, then it was done in 2017. When it was done in 2017, the casing was almost rotted through when they pull it out. What happens there is if you pull it out, the case rots and it breaks off and falls in, well shot, you're done. You can't do anything else with it. You gotta start all over again. So trying to avoid having that happen. If it was done in 2017, 2024, or 7 years ago. So I'm hoping to get something to be able to do that. And so we don't have a problem, because we really don't need a problem with the well right now until we get some other ones online and for several years out of that. So
How far out, best case scenario with that well in Bellin? You know, 7 years, but I mean, is that 4 or 5 years down the road is what?
Open 2027.
27.
Yeah, possibly early 28, depending on the timing, but somewhere in that ballpark, mid 27 to mid 28 area.
So you're looking to rehab for well number 3, but yet its life is hopefully short-lived.
No, that one was gonna continue.
That was it. That's the well, the 3, yeah, there's it.
Number 3, yeah. 1 and 2, that's the one we had to do this year. And when they ended up pulling the pipe up, that one, the pipe looked in really good shape, so. I believe we got several years on number 2, so, because that was actually newer than number 1 was, so. I think we got several years, and we'll have to worry about number 2 unless the little pump itself goes out. We'll address it at that time, though.
And we still don't wanna get rid of 1 and 2, even that we want to keep them professional as long as we can. So.
Yeah, I'm hoping that we don't have to do anything to them, and then we'll get to the point where we can just shut them down and not spend any money on them, is what I'm hoping for, but we'll keep an eye on that.
After that gets it.
My guess for this is 50,000, it was 24 for number 1. Just total guess on it, it's gonna be larger pipe, it's longer pipe, bigger pump. So I'm assuming that 50 is gonna get it, so.
And when we did that, well, last time, they recommended watch it every 7 years. Pull it, check it, so you don't get in trouble.
So that's where we kind of got to looking at it, and said, oh, 7 years is right here, so. The next thing I had was the equipment leases, to continue those as much as we had been doing. Right now, all the departments use it. They're valuable tools for everything that we do that we can use to help save money and make our jobs easier for one, and make our skills help pay for stuff that we're gonna have to sub out to somebody else. I don't know, I'm trying to get information on that, I don't know what the exact ones look like, but I'm sure it's a modest increase from before. And then the last thing I got was the remote valves. These are valves for the Railroad Street property. Seems like monthly, we're going there to shut the water off for somebody, because whatever reason they have issues, didn't pay something. And the conditions inside are way less than ideal. So what we're looking at doing is they have a remote valve and water meter that fit within inside of our water meter now. And with a computer program, we can go outside the building, not even have to go in, and we can remotely shut the water off to whichever one we want. The salesman told us that the valves and the meters together should be under $500 a piece. The software is $2,000 a year. What we would decide to do with that is, I think there's several options as far as I'm concerned. I don't know what anybody else is gonna think, but whether you can pay for it, sends the extra money to everybody's bills there to cover the $2,000 for software. I think it's an important thing to not have to go in there and come back out with fleas and bed bugs and everything else. And
We're gonna meter in each unit.
yes,
First, it's like a mechanical room.
yes,
Right,
and
so
that's another option where you force them to replumb the whole building so they can go to a centralized room and do it that way. But then that's a whole different conversation.
Right.
So, or maybe you have the company that's skiing over everything, pays for everything, and then they go get the money from the renters and we're out of it. So I don't know what to do there, but this is an option for us to deal with that, so you don't have to go in and be part of that mess. It's the only structure we have that does that, and it was, for whatever reason, it was overlooked back at that time. Obviously, that does not happen anymore.
Well, and it's really hard to get that, at least the current owner manager to meet staff, to post it that we need in. And then to meet staff there and be reliable to show up. It's,
Yeah, because you can sit around for a half, they'll say, I'll meet you there at 10, and then you'll be sitting around there till 10:30, 10:45, and then they finally show up, and
yeah,
it's
a problem.
it's a real problem.
2,000 a year fee.
Yeah.
That's the part I wondered.
Yeah,
That doesn't-
which breaks down to roughly $21 per month per meter, so whether you assessed it to their bill or a specific aid, Right. I mean, they're not paying the bill anyway, but. I don't. Just that's just kind of.
Under that scenario, you would think there's gotta be something to recoup that money.
That's
I mean, it's a problem with not paying the bill.
right. Well, but then when they pay the bill, then they gotta pay extra for us to go turn it off, turn it on anyway, so
So
they're
they're
paying
paying
extra.
to, yeah, turn off.
Above and beyond, so I don't know exactly what the best answer is, this is just something that would help us out of it.
They've always been a problem child.
Yeah.
This is a dawn of time. I mean,
Yeah, Cynthia and I looked at this one 5, 6, 7 years ago, and maybe longer, and it was way more outrageous at that point. It was not even feasible. To me, this is least feasible now.
Yeah, the prices come down, so it's 8 units,
Yes.
Yes.
yeah, so it'd be 4,000 for the valve, and then the 2,000.
But there's no other option other than that fee. I mean, 2,000. Well, you can try and force them to make the property owner move the water. Well, but I mean, other options then.
Yeah, the
Replumbing is as option 2, but option.
replumbing it or having the owner collect from its tenants.
Right, I think
Rebuild the
that's
owner.
a simple.
Yeah, you just bill the owner outright for everybody and then make them collect on
And
it.
then because they pick their renters, so let them collect from them.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like city should have to
Right.
incur all those fees on an everyday basis.
Right.
Monthly basis.
Right, well, and that's where if you added it to their bill and everyone paid an extra $21 a month, well, that covers your, just out of those 8 alone covers the,
Yeah, they were.
but it's $21 to their bill that's already being questionably paid, so.
Tags on top of the rent. There's issues with that too, but that's not our.
Right, that's, yeah, exactly, so. Just something to throw out there, think about, see if we can figure something out.
Trying to get a little safer for.
Yeah, it's something clean.
no, it's very, very bad.
You have to go in there for a water break. Because somebody stood on top of their meter and broke the pipe and it was flooding the part up below them. I almost fell through the floor into their crawl space. So it's a really ideal, I got within one step of going through the whole line. It was not good.
I know,
I got.
I know my dad's gone in there, fixed their HVAC, and he left.
So that's another whole topic.
I know.
Anything else, Brian?
No, that's it for me. Thank you.
The safety concerns.
No, the city.
Okay. City Hall. Cynthia.
Okay. So, I don't think that's anything real surprising. Again, I stress that the best budget thing to do for City Hall is to retain the staff. Tina should be able to get her CMC at this fiscal year, I'm hoping. If, when I retire, you'll have some double staffing for training.
Yeah, well, that worrying about there.
And
But I will give you plenty of warning. I don't know, I just haven't sat down and decided. We would request that you continue to make the City Hall building loan payment from Lost. That's where the lease payments were coming from, and so it was just a continuation of that. As far as, yeah. There's something cooperating tonight. For equipment, or software, we plan to switch the Microsoft Office 365, which is cloud-based. There would be, computer system upgrade to make that change. I would think that should happen in the fiscal year that we're gonna start to plan. Eventually, all of our county UB payroll modules are gonna go to cloud. But they'll have to, well, I'll be gone before it happens. If they tell me that it's gonna happen tomorrow, I'll figure out my date, let me tell you. They're going to pull us kicking and screaming to that because the modules that they brought online now, people have had nothing but problems. And the one that they've had on the longest is, it's called Front Desk. It's so expensive. Once they force all of their customers to go to this, those annual fees are gonna be probably double. That Front Desk is really expensive. We looked into it and said, no, thanks. But that will not be, I would think at least 3 years. Right now, we own the building, and as you know, we've done many, many different things to fix it. It was just waiting for us to own it. But I believe that the refrigerator will need to be replaced probably yet this fiscal year. The guys are constantly tinkering with it, and Tina keeps a good eye on it. We should just automatically budget to replace some of the tables. They get a lot of use with the rentals and stuff. So about 3,500 a year. We've been discussing removing the fireproof file cabinets because we've just all keep everything electronic now. And maybe having some more types of different storage. But we'll come back with pricing. That's doesn't have to be the next fiscal year, and it's probably not even a big enough item that we couldn't absorb it in our regular budget. So I think really just our regular budget with adjustments for payroll, insurance, of course, always goes up, both payroll insurance and property insurance, and then inflation increases for expenses. I think really the 6,000 for the equipment. And then any repairs that might come up. I think the electronic signs losing its mind, so hopefully that's not a big expense for the software, but that'll be this fiscal year, so. Nothing surprising or big ticket there, I don't think. Any questions for me?
Okay, thank you. Next up, Shane's gonna give us a quick preview of what the capital improvement projects or CIP list is potentially looking at to see if there's anything you right off the top of your head want to add or subtract.
Yeah, so there's, excuse me, there's 4 sheets there. First one is the current year, so it's really not a CIP, it's just kind of showing you the existing projects that are already underway and kind of their status. The second sheet is the FY 2025 CIP, the 1-year plan, so what we'd be looking at for the upcoming year. The third sheet is the 2 to 5 year plan, and the fourth sheet is the 5 to 10 year or the 6 to 10 year plan. So that's how we've kind of presented it the last several years. But I guess the focus would be in the upcoming year, the FY 2025 1-year plan, so that second sheet. And I'm just gonna run through some different things and then I'll follow up with any questions or additional projects that you like to see added to this yet. So, excuse me. So starting off with the kind of the existing projects. The well number 4, an observation well at the Bell and After property, that is anticipated to go out for public bids this spring with construction this summer. We've got funds in place, but we need a few extra dollars for that project. And what that is for is with the excuse me, with the well project, I'm sorry, with the water supply treatment project that will follow up with that. We need to do some grading improvements for the future sewer extension and hopefully future road in there. So we're doing those as part of this project, so we don't have to tear up the access drive that we put in place. Yeah. We've also got from an existing project is that East Cemetery Road Trail project that we've got some empty funding for. And we've been talking about that for a few years where they changed the funding requirements, and then with inflation. Those project costs have gone up. That project's been on hold. But I think that at this point, the council's gonna have to decide whether or not we want to move forward with that project or just shelf it and turn the funds to the MPO.
Well, we haven't received any funds.
We haven't received any funds. yet.
Release
We just
the
have to not accept them and
Yeah.
move the project.
Is there a time limit on that?
We have to be showing progress And we got funds in 2 phases. We got the second set of funds this fiscal year, so. But we said, with inflation, with the change in funding sources through the MPO, project costs have gone up fairly significantly, so. It's just a matter of what the priority is for the city. I know there's a lot of other needs and issues, but some we'll talk more about it the upcoming January meeting. The Church Street reconstruction project that's currently on hold. I know Mayor Beer has indicated that she may want to see that move forward. Couple things with that project. Right now, with the dollar amount on there, we pulled out the sanitary sewer. If you recall, we had the sanitary sewer stubbed in from the highway. That will ultimately need to be extended onto the Belknap property for the water supply treatment facility. And we're gonna extend that south, down through the property, south of East Church Street there. That sewer project has been pulled out of this and has been put into the water supply treatment project. Assuming that this will stay on hold. If it doesn't, we'll move it back because this project could happen sooner than the treatment facility project, so. It's something to take into consideration, so if that project is moved up to the 1-year plan, we'll have to add the sewer back into that. Other things we'll have to consider with that would be Vanderbilt Street, the UP Railroad crossing at Vanderbilt Street, and how that's gonna be addressed if all the traffic is forced to come in on Prairie Avenue, which is the direction that we've been having problems with this trust. So it may be one of those things where you need to get that issue addressed first, something to consider. And the status of the Vanderbilt Street Improvement Project, so, excuse me. In early conversations that John had with the consultant for the UP, they said that they would get back the pricing that the UP was gonna propose for that project that would pass along to the city by the end of November. We followed up with them after Thanksgiving, and they said, well, they're done with it. They sent it on to the UP, and we've not seen anything yet. So hopefully we can get something here this month before the next meeting that we can throw a number in here. And then obviously, I'll have to make a decision whether or not to move forward with that project. And if not, then what would we want to do to address that issue with that crossing? You recall, we may be able to get some grant money through the DOT for the railroad crossing. It'd be about 50% matching, but it's also several years out, so that'd be an option. In the meantime, if the railroad costs are too high, we don't proceed with it at this point. The funds that we have available for doing that work, we may look at, a thing that you could consider doing. Look at using that money to maybe improve a couple of intersections, widen it out for the trucks or alternate routes. Signage. Something that we should consider at least a year back. So. Any questions so far? Heartland Heights participation. So with the Heartland Heights pond getting finished up this coming year, something the city should consider doing is the bridge participation and at least part of the trail participation on that site. Right now, if they get it finished up and they want to dedicate it to the city has no way to access the entire property because of the creeks. There's 2 creeks that run through there. The only way ultimately to do that would be to get that bridge in and that trail in, or extend Beverly Road and get that in, and then that's way down the road for the developers. So consideration should be taken to do some of that work this upcoming year. If you recall, last month Shane requested that the city participate in that culvert underneath that trail in addition to the bridge.
Just so you're aware, the price they've given us last year on that is $268,000 for that culvert. So I'm not sure if you want the city to participate 50% on that or all of that, but that'd be $134,000 or more. That project, that culvert was not part of the original pond layout. They ended up revising it because they couldn't get the original pond layout approved through the DNR, the Army Corps of Engineers. And with that, it changed the trail stuff, which removed some of their costs, put more costs on the city. They also request the city participate in the bridge project too. So again, this is something that they had the chance to address that request when they did the revised committee plat. They did not. And the city took on additional costs for their pond project at that time. I can provide some details on that if you'd like, but just so you're aware of that, with that consideration, for that request.
Shane, for the January meeting, could you bring similar drawings of what you had this morning? That really made it kind of clear that we could see what was originally planned and what now is being proposed.
Yeah.
And then also, could you bring printed copies of your CIP? I'll have printed copies of the budget spreadsheet.
Yep. Okay, so new projects onto the one-year CIP plan. Stallman Road, utilities extension and street paving. So with the upcoming bridge project and the upcoming, Eagle View Drive, West Cemetery Road intersection realignment, Stallman Road is gonna get utilized as the alternate route while that area is under construction. And along with the intersection realignment project, we're gonna be extending sewer and water across the creek over to that intersection, so. The reason for adding this at this time was we can do it with the Eagle View Drive, West Cemetery Road intersection realignment. I know Sabaski's have the development on the west side of the highway. They're interested in getting sewer extended down there. So if we use that as the alternate route during those construction projects, the seal coat road is gonna get beat up. The city's gonna have to go back after that's all done, touch up damage, put down additional seal coat on top of it. So there's a cost, there's a timing to do it all at once. So this project would extend the sewer down, that would serve Barb's property, that would serve the adjacent properties to the west, would also serve the Dollar General and proposed lots for the Sabaskis. Try to do it all at one time, get it all done and ready. We'd be looking at, the section would be pretty similar to what it is today, but we'd be looking at either asphalt section or paved section, so it would be seal coat, to get permanent surface. Possible sidewalk on the west side, that would connect the Dollar General and Spassky's development, any future development, future sidewalk, trail, etc. So that's what that project is for. The next one is the Eagle View Drive water main. Again, this would go along with the intersection upgrades at East Cemetery Road at Eagle View. So it's part of the intersection realignment with West Cemetery Road and Eagle View Drive. Like I said, we're extending water main, we put the water main across the highway with the highway project a couple years ago. This would extend it up through that intersection, which be stubbed to the north side of Advanced Traffic Business. And I always forget if it's Big Riggers or what. Yeah. So we basically extend the water main to the north side there. Some of you may recall that when the Spassky's developed Henry and Haley's edition, I believe it is, to the north, where Betsy Boo's is and Dugout's Ports, they put in water main, so it's sitting there, it's put in for the city standard. So, and that's the south side of their development. So basically, there's about 430 foot section in between that's just left void. So this would basically fill that gap.
and connect that water main, we can put that water main in place. You can use the hydrants, those people that have public water. So that's what that project's for. So those last two projects could be incorporated with that East Cemetery Road and with that drive intersection realignment project, so. And that's why those are added at this time. Next item that's being added for this next coming year, or the upcoming FY 2025 one-year plan would be the design of the water supply treatment facilities, well, number 5. The other item is the street culvert replacements at Angle Road. So this has been on there, and I think it, last couple of years has been on the 2 to 5 year plan, possibly. Lane County's asked us to move it up and do it this upcoming year. I've asked them for updated pricing. Right now I have 100,000 in there, which should be more than enough, but when we get updated pricing from them, I'll put that in there. And this is, if you're not aware of the area, Angle Drive is up on the north side, north of Apartment Heights. It's a gravel road, it's a very rural area, so it's,
Is it just deteriorating? I remember talking about that.
yeah, they're corrugated metal pipe, you know, they've got a 30 to 40 year life span, they rust out. Some of the, the drainage comes down and turns corners, things like that, and they're trying to improve that drainage in place of the culverts. But with that station, with the Harlan Heights development, that part of those, now in the city, part of the county, so that's why the county has the station for that. And then, we've got Iowa land building property infrastructure improvements. Really haven't heard anything yet, so we'll probably push that off to the 2 to 5 year plan at this point. We'll plug in some planning numbers, but exactly how that comes up. That could be improvements along 76th Avenue, which is currently a gravel road. Could be sewer and water main improvements. As Cynthia mentioned, that could be something, especially with sewer and water main improvements. Then if they can do that improvements, and then there can be some tip money for them to do that. If that's the case, then it would have to be under the CIP. Maybe it would still have to be at least part of participation, but. Any questions with that so far?
Do you know when what the water or DOTs are gonna invoice us for everything?
So we requested stuff several months ago. We requested numbers from them, and they give us preliminary numbers, and we reviewed through them, and they still haven't. Yeah, it's been a long time. I got a short answer, no, I'm not. So projects that I think a few of them have been discussed so far this evening, but that have been added. I met with Mayor Beer and staff this morning, and Joe had mentioned a couple things. Brian had mentioned sanitary sewer point repairs, mining projects. So we've had that on the 2 to 5 year for a long time. I think if you look back, it was 6 years ago that the city videoed it, the sewer. Every year that goes by, it's become less and less valuable. So we want to get something on there. Right now, we got a number of 150,000. I think Brian mentioned they're gonna look into that a little bit more. We'll look at our old maps and see if that's a good number. We don't want to put a big number on there. It's something we can do a little bit every year, but we do want to get started with that. Make use of those videos and address especially the more critical point repairs and mining sections, so. Harlan Heights Park Pavilion, men's restroom, men's and women's restroom, we'll talk about those. Prairie Creek Park men's and women's restrooms. The amphitheater at the complex and the tennis pickleball course. All that discussed, we'll look at adding those. Then possible library planning. Are there any other projects, any council members who would like to see moved up from the 2 to 5 year plan to this year, or 5 to 10 or 6 to 10 year plan, or something we don't even have on there? questions?
Okay.
Actually, I do have a question. Sorry, I'm sitting down. I know sometimes there's wiggle room in grants and things like that. I know the trail we talked about earlier that is supposed to connect to the larger trail network within Wayne County. If we decide to not do that trail, is that money specifically for a trail connecting to a larger, or can be any trail within the city?
The money that we have borrowed for can be used for any purpose listed on the bond.
Mhm.
The MPO money, is that what you're talking
Yeah.
about? That's Shane.
And that would have to be on a previously identified project. Which I
So like a bridge going over a pond in Harlan Heights, Boyer would not qualify.
No.
That's wishful thinking.
It
I
would not
know.
qualify, but when I went to those meetings, because we were not the only person that had projects that had been approved. And with inflation and whatnot, were coming back and saying, can you, it's gone up
Go back up,
$150,000. Can you pay for the additional increase? And they were willing to do that. So if we were wanting to do that, that would be something that we would need to say, go to them and say, in your budget this year, next year, can you?
Get back up to 80%.
Yes, and they were more than willing to do that, but it's a conversation.
Do you know what project that was and who it was for?
I wanna say Marion, something in Marion. I don't remember now, it's been so
It just
long ago.
surprises me that they do that because everybody's in the same boat. I mean, the funding changed for everybody and obviously everybody's experiencing.
Yeah, but there was and I know there was at least 2 projects came back and said, would you? And they did approve to pick up the difference, but you're not out anything, you could ask and they would say yes or no.
There are limited funds, so that surprises me that they said yes, but I mean, if that's something the council wants to do, we can definitely ask.
Yeah, cause I asked them, is that something we can do? And they were like, certainly. They were very open to it, so.
Okay. Anything else for Shane? All right. Move on to number 16 on the agenda. This item is a statement from the council regarding history of events involving the city of Fairfax and the art property located on Cemetery Road. Tom Murray will read the statement and reference the exhibits, that there won't be any discussion or comments allowed. Tom, the floor is yours.
City council and mayor believe that residents should have an opportunity to voice their opinions and concerns. There are times when residents do not have the information necessary to fully understand a given topic. In an effort to be transparent, sometimes it's necessary to publish facts for residents to get a better understanding of a topic. The following information is being provided to give residents that information. Regis Art purchased the property located at 25 East Cemetery Road in 1963. Since then, Tom Art purchased part or all of the farmland and buildings from Regis Art. Photo number 1 is an aerial photo from Lynn County, Iowa land records taken in the 1950s, showing drainage going through the Arts soon-to-be property. The area where the Arts built their buildings was an existing drainage way for approximately 300 acres of land located north of East Cemetery Road and Highway 151. This photo was taken before the Arts built their house and buildings. Photo number 2 is an aerial photo in 2020 showing 3 drainage improvement projects done by the city of Fairfax to improve the drainage in the developed areas north of East Cemetery Road and to reduce the drainage impact on the Arts property. Note in this photo, development north of East Cemetery Road has occurred. Photo number 2.5 shows the overall drainage area, approximately 300 acres that drain to and through the Arts building prior to the city of Fairfax 3 drainage improvement projects. Sorry.
Keep kicking me out of the document. So you want 2.5.
Oh, there you go. So I'll read that again. So 2.5 shows the overall drainage area, approximately 300 acres that drain to and through the arts buildings prior to the city of Fairfax's 3 drainage improvement projects. This photo also shows easternly and westernly portions of this drainage area that have been diverted away from the arts buildings as a result of 2 of those 3 drainage improvement projects. The first of the 3 drainage improvement projects was completed in 2009 and is located south of Driftwood Park and just east of the Arps property. You can see this in the far right in photo number 2. Back there. It's maybe a little John. So I'll read that part again. The first of 3 drainage improvement projects was completed in 2009 and is located south of Driftwood Park and just east of the Arps property. As you can see in this, in the far right in photo number 2. Yeah, there you go. Thank you. The next drainage improvement project was started in 2013 and completed in 2014. This project was part of East Cemetery Road reconstruction project.
Scroll down.
There you go. Thanks. Which also included sanitary sewer and water main improvements. This project helped improve the drainage north of East Cemetery Road and west of 80th Street, while also reducing the drainage to the Arps buildings. You can see this on the left side of photo number 2. The third and final drainage improvement project was completed in 2014 and 2015 and was part of the East Cemetery Road reconstruction project. This drainage improvement project is located between the buildings on the Arps property directly south of 80th Street. You can see this in the middle of photo number 2. In the area highlighted in red, the drainage area is now diverted south of Driftwood Park, away from the Arps property. In the highlighted area in green, the drainage is now diverted south of the storm sewer and drainage swale away from the Arps building. Photos 3 through 7. Our photos before the city did the drainage improvement projects and shows an 18-inch plastic tile installed by the Arps to aid in the runoff of their property. These photos also show that erosion had occurred south of their buildings. The 18-inch plastic pipe was installed by the Arps, was approximately 120 feet long and ran to the end of their gravel lot, outletting to their waterway, which is drained through their field to the wooded area adjacent to Prairie Creek. These photos were taken by Hall engineers, designers of the project during the design phase. Photos 8 through 11 shows the improved drainage through the Arps property. After the Fairfax completed the drainage improvement projects. Photos were also taken by Hall engineers. Photo 12 shows 2 15-inch diameter storm sewer pipes that run underground from East Cemetery Road and extend approximately 1,550 feet to the wooded area along Prairie Creek. Please note these 2 storm sewer pipes are considerably longer than the approximately 120-foot long 18-inch plastic pipe that was removed on the Arps property. The additional storm sewer pipe that runs from their gravel lot to Prairie Creek was added at the Arps request. As part of this drainage project, the city of Fairfax also improved the above ground drainage capacity between the Arps buildings, including paving a portion of the area between these buildings, as well as improving the drainage through the Arps field. See photos 9 through 11. Document number 5 provided by Hall engineers showed its drainage calculations for the 18-inch for the Arps 18-inch diameter pipe that used to run between their buildings and the current two 15-inch diameter pipes, which were installed by the city of Fairfax. These calculations indicate that the two 15-inch diameter storm sewer pipes installed by the city of Fairfax carry approximately 23% more storm water than the one 18-inch diameter storm sewer pipe installed by the ARPS. Note that there has always been significant drainage to and through the ARPS property, even before the developments on the north side of East Cemetery Road occurred. Refer to photo number 1 taken in the 1950s. The 3 drainage improvement projects were completed by the city of Fairfax in 2009, 2014, and 2015 to improve drainage for the properties located north of East Cemetery Road, as well as for the ARPS. In all, the 3 drainage improvement projects completed by the city reduced the runoff that drains between the ARPS buildings to approximately 68 acres from what used to be approximately 300 acres. Photo 2.5. Increase the flow runoff that is carried in the storm sewers between the ARPS buildings by approximately 23%. See document number 5. Extend the storm sewers by approximately 1,550 feet from the gravel lot to Prairie Creek. Significantly improve the above ground drainage capacity between the ARPS buildings and their fields, all while reducing erosion along this drainage way. Document number 1 is the July 16, 2013 purchase agreement under which the city of Fairfax acquired the easement across the ARPS property that was needed for the public sanitary sewer facilities, water main, and drainage improvements. Photo number 2 on the left side. Workout.
It does to my mouse skills.
On the left side shows the easement location. And document number 4 shows payments made in accordance with the agreement on September 3rd, 2013. That's a big document there. So. Item number 3 on page 2. I'll let you get to that.
Hang on.
Yeah.
I was trying to find that document for. Sorry, I'm lost now. Oh, there's 4, finally. Okay, then what do you want after
Right
document
after
4?
that, I think it's-
What do you want now?
Item number 3, page 2 of that agreement.
Here.
Yep, there you go. Thank you. The agreement provided that the ARPS had 5 years from the date of the settlement to renegotiate construction and maintenance damages not apparent when the contract was signed, thus giving the ARPS until 2018 to determine if the agreement did not fully compensate them in some manner. Item number 6 on the same page further provided that the city of Fairfax would compensate the ARPS for crop damage in 2013 and crop loss in 2014 due to the construction activities for installing the sanitary sewer. Document 1.5, at the June 13, 2023 city council meeting, item number 8 on the agenda was a settlement and release agreement approved by city council for the city to provide the ARPS 10 loads of clean topsoil at the field entrance of the drainage swale. The ARPS stated 9 years after the drainage improvement, they're settling and asked the city of Fairfax to remedy this issue. See photo number 2 on the left side. That might be way up there. Yeah, photo number 2 on the left side, way over there. Yes, thank you. The ARPS raised this issue long after the 5-year window to renegotiate construction and maintenance damages not apparent at the time of the 2013 easement purchase agreement, but the city council nonetheless extended the offer as voluntary good faith accommodation. The ARPS did not sign the settlement release agreement. Document number 2 is a construction easement on ARP's property in 2013. This was needed to access and construct sanitary sewer and water main facilities for residents on East Cemetery Road. Page 4 of this construction easement shows the area involved.
And this is a really
That's a
poor,
bad one.
yeah.
I forgot to give you the updated one, sorry. Document number 3 is the purchase agreement with the ARP. Did you get to that?
Yeah.
Okay. Document number 3 is a purchase agreement with the ARPS to purchase property and for the city of Fairfax to construct a trail on the west end of his property adjacent to Highway 151. Document 3A shows this area. Yeah, it's kind of sideways there. Document number 4, I'll let you get to that.
Oh,
Kind of twisted it, yeah.
That's the payment one, isn't it?
Mhm.
Actually, yeah, right there. Okay.
Document number 4 is payments made by the city of Fairfax to Tom and Patricia R. for the projects from 2010 through 2023. These payments include payments for property acquisitions, construction easements, as well as crop damages provided for under the easement purchase agreement. The total payments from the city of Fairfax to the ARPS total $121,326.06. To restate what was stated at the beginning, the intent is to be transparent and to get information out to all residents so you can better understand these situations and to have a more educated opinion. The city council and mayor strive to make the best decisions for the city of Fairfax and its residents. All residents are encouraged to view all past city council agendas and their information and all of their Fairfax volunteer committees. You can find this information at the Fairfax Civic website, see it listed at the bottom. And in addition, you can also view all city council meetings on YouTube. You can see it listed there at the website. There will be no discussion by the city council or mayor on this agenda item.
We'll now move on to item number 17. Discussion possible motion concerning the glass recycling program. Last month, I presented a proposal for glass recycling, and the council had a couple questions. So what's happened since that time? I first talked with Matt Pivot with Republic Services. And he suggested that I talk to Mount Vernon's mayor, Tom Weisler, because Republic is currently providing them with this same service. So in your council packet, you'll see the email from Tom Weisler over in Mount Vernon. He's the mayor. And addressing the questions that you had and that I shared with him. He said there's been no issues with insects, rodents, or offensive smells. The first time they dumped the load, there was some non-glass items in it, but it was still accepted. The second dump was a lot cleaner as residents got used to what's going on. They do have some signage to tell the residents what's acceptable and not acceptable. And he's not aware of any broken glass around the containers at all. So they're very happy with how it's going. He's trying to implement some other things, but for that project, very happy with it. I made a minor change in the proposal itself. I originally was suggesting a 25-cent per month increase per household in the monthly utility bill, but Cynthia commented that maybe we should wait on that part of it until we do budget discussions, because we're gonna have to look at the overall solid waste budget for next year. and see where we're at. I was almost to the point of saying, maybe we just offer it without any increase at all, if the budget will allow, we don't know that yet.
If you remember, we're subsidizing right now the garbage budget with general fund money. You may have heard me mention that.
That's how we do it. You want to go way up.
So. Any further questions on that?
In that email, Joanne, it says something that it wasn't, there was something in one of, when they were taking it to be recycled. There's some stuff in there, but it was accepted. What happens if it's not accepted? You know, it goes away.
Just goes to the landfill.
They take it to the landfill, doesn't come back here, right?
No, it doesn't come back.
Mount Vernon, so for the year of 24, I think, or 23, dumped it twice, without a reason.
Yeah, he said they really have only dumped it a couple times in a year, yeah. So,
And what's the population of Mount Vernon? It's bigger,
well, it's hard because they have the college population that impacts, otherwise they would be similar to us, but they're larger because of the. So they're very happy with it. They do have signage, telling the residents, you know, what's acceptable and what isn't. It ends up getting repurposed into other things by that other company that, solid waste agency partners with. So. Ripple Glass is down in Kansas City, is who they partner with.
So
So
that
thoughts?
based on kind of what your question is with Mount Vernon twice a year under the public service option, 110 for the initial delivery times 2, well, $300, $600, so you have $700 into it as a kind of a guess per year.
household.
Right.
So it should be pretty.
Yeah, when you look down at the resident costs that our current household count is around 1107 approximately,
So it's gonna be pretty minimal increase.
very minimal.
Yeah. Cause there are people who do want recycled glass.
Oh, yes, that's, we got started with this because we had heard from some residents and then, some representatives from the solid waste agency came to talk us about other things. And they said, oh, by the way, are you aware that this is happening? So. I don't see any downfalls to it.
Yeah, I'm not against it.
Republic is willing to, I told them that we would need a dumpster where it's just not a free for all. They can just do a drive by and throw in the bag. They're gonna actually cut holes in the, the top, so you can't do that. And they'll also be lockable, so they can't lift the lid. Just toss things in there.
And we've decided this is going in the city hall parking lot.
In the far corner, probably.
I was gonna put it out on concrete pads and disc golf course, keep us the beat off the back.
For a minute there, I was starting to fall asleep. I'm glad you said something.
We're not committed to this long term. We wanna do it for a while and see what works. I mean, I personally don't have a huge objection to it. I know that you're a little secret on recycling glasses. A, it's worthless, and B, a lot of the time it gets thrown away anyway. But if we want to give it a try.
Well, Ripple Glass doesn't seem to think it's worthless down in Kansas City.
Well, every year solid waste agency gives a report, glass has almost no redeemable value and paper is worthless half the year, so I mean, I'm under no illusion that this is a, what would I say? It's not out of any sort of real economic benefit. But if people are interested in recycling glass, I don't see why not trying it out, see how it goes.
Is that a motion?
Would you like to do like something in spring?
So that was the other question, is when we started, I would suggest starting it in the middle of the winter.
Oh,
That's not a good time to start.
Spring maybe with our grass. Coordinate it with that.
Say if we go forward with it, we're gonna tax and public, people know, and they start.
Oh, yes.
Saving up for it, rather.
Why don't they,
right off the bat.
why don't you start when we do trash day, so we can do trash day here too, and then people don't dump it there, and then we can get an idea of where it needs to go. I don't know if we're waiting too far out for that. but-
I would say that that's the earliest you should do it, because one, we've gotta get the dumpster ready, and two, we've gotta get the information from the, so labels have to be removed, they have to be washed, our lids included. We have to figure out what the education material is that we need to get to our residents. And, that's not gonna be in the January issue, when this is already the 12th. So you're looking at the February and March issue before it would start in April, so I would say that's the earliest you could do it.
Yeah, we could do a coming soon. to
I would
Fairfax.
wait for, trash day, junk day, whatever the hell we call it, Anarchy day.
Oh, that's the.
That's a new offering,
Usually the
part of
first
that.
part of. June.
I would coordinate it with that myself,
Do ribbon cutting.
and,
Yes.
yes, and that,
Champagne bottle.
the smashing 40s.
Yes.
And that would be the second thing, to be find out the requirements, because I have a low probability if it requires a high level of cleanliness, cleaning it out, removing labels, lids, things like that, I don't know how much people are gonna adhere to that.
Was that stated about all the labels need to be taken off?
We didn't talk about that. I'm assuming the solid waste agency would have some printed materials that they could share with us. That we would have to start from scratch to educate people. But I mean, recycling in general is education, right? Right. So, and if we started in that time frame, then if we decided we wanted to do an increase, it could go along with our annual increase.
Right.
Instead of doing it separately. So that would be a good thought.
And then, thinking about the implementation, you probably want to write this into your solid waste ordinance. And we don't have an ordinance ready for tonight. I mean, based on this discussion, we could draft it, contact them, find out about the handling, and then address it during budget and work it in.
I'm not sure if you mean solid waste ordinance, how would we write that?
We have a solid waste chapter that talks about what they have to do with their trash and when yard waste starts and who has to participate, and what they have to do, and so I. Something in there about that.
You guys keep this down at your.
I was thinking fine till I came in here.
Don't touch any of the smack.
No, touch the food.
Oh, my goodness.
No, it's gone.
Okay,
Give it to me again. And we first reconciliation.
so it sounds,
I think, do we need to make a motion, or do we wanna wait until we craft it up as an ordinance?
That's what I
would
would
say
say.
Wait.
Work on putting it up as an ordinance, because then we can get an idea of requirements, possible cost on the utility bill, or if it's added to the garbage bill, what we decide, when to kick it off.
so I shouldn't tell Republic to start building the dumpster lid? Wait,
Yeah, well, if we don't talk about it, if we don't maybe implement it until May or June, I would,
We would have time.
yeah, hopefully it would not gonna take forever.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah, move forward. Get a little more info on what the requirements are for the actual glass.
And I'll try to draft an ordinance, see if we can.
and it doesn't mean we can't try, because I mean, like I said, solid waste every year, they talk about the actual amount of recycling is recycled due to contamination. So if we can at least try to see, and if they start saying, oh, this went to the garbage anyway, because it's full of a bunch of, labels and pop bottle lids and all that, then we can scrap it.
okay. Sounds good. So no action other than behind the scenes on this item. All right, number 19, consider resolution to approve the investment policy. Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped 18. Discussion and possible motion, just wishful thinking. Discussion of possible motion concerning investment with IPay. Cynthia.
So I put a lot of their brochures and reports and stuff in that you could review, and then I just went to her and I said, okay, here's some questions. So, fees to the city, they're taking, you know, the rate that they give us, that's net after fees. So there aren't any additional fees. We never see the fees, we just see a lower net rate. And are they insured? It's not FDI insured, but the portfolio holdings include U.S. government agency obligations, U.S. Treasury notes, government money market mutual funds, repurchase agreements, which are collateralized by the U.S. government treasuries and agencies and FDI insured bank products. Can we determine the amount to invest? Yes, there's no minimum or maximum. For the iPad daily fund, so you can determine the amount that you want to invest. Can we change when needed? Yes, as long as we do it by 3 p.m. that day, it changes that same day. I was wondering whether we could do it via ACH and not wire transfer, because I think the bank would charge us for wire transfers, and yes, they prefer ACH, and there isn't any fees then. Do you have other questions?
Well,
So-
it's not FDIC.
So it's not insured, it's just all invested in the government
Yes.
funds?
They're all safe funds or.
Well, as long as the government's stable, that's,
There's
that would be the $10 million joke, is our government.
That's what I jumped out of me.
It's not insured.
But did you see there's 1.5 billion in this fund?
Okay, well, it's, my thing is.
Okay, Birdie, big one.
Yeah, pretty big, yeah, there you go.
Well, I can
It's
tell
made
you,
to fail.
the whole reason that this started was that there was an investment snafu. I don't remember the specifics. I know the city of Marshalltown was involved, and a lot of cities lost money. And this started after to be a safer option for them. But you know, if you guys don't want to do it, we don't have to do
And is
it,
it
but
safer just because it's investing in the government and they feel like those are safer investments?
Well, treasury bonds and things like that, they have a lower yield annual return, but they're, you know, backed by the government. So I guess if you're looking at it as, if the city has money sitting around and it's not being used, it loses value every year by inflation, and doing this in a safer manner helps offset that. We're not looking to make money. It's more of a trading value. Yeah.
well, and you know, we can certainly still do a mixture of bank CDs. I just think that this gives us the same, basically the same rates, and gives us daily, you're not tied into a maturity date.
You're more
with
fluid
them.
with your
Yeah,
money.
yes, that's the word.
Liquidity.
Liquidity,
Yes.
there you
I
go.
guess I wouldn't be opposed to trying it. I don't think I would like to put, I don't think I want to put all my eggs in
I
one
would put
basket.
all of the parks department budget in there. That's how he gets his toilets, is any sort of money we make.
38 cents.
So the money funds are around 5% still returning, and what did the CDs get? Granted, what CDs are getting.
Well, right now, at, earlier, well, it wasn't this week, it was last week, Fairfax State Savings Bank, their, 6 month was at 5.05. 12 month is 4.95. So they're really close, 7 month, 5.04.
And I think if you go back to before inflation, those CDs were like 2%.
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah.
as of right now, it's evened up, but you get years down the road, you're making an additional 2 or 3 points possibly, right? Makes sense to try some, maybe not all.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to
That that kind of makes sense too, is.
You put the fire departments in there.
Yeah.
Just not the,
Fireworks.
not the fireworks.
No,
budget.
No, don't put the
No,
fireworks.
no.
Okay, so is
I should
everybody
try.
comfortable with the info from IP?
So we need a motion to proceed.
Motion to proceed with investing in IPAIC.
I will second his little motion.
And how much?
How much?
I don't wanna put all the eggs in the one basket. I'm sorry.
You want me to just randomly throw out a number?
Well, I mean, you can set a number if you want, but the investment policy, you don't have to do that. That's set by, you know, really Tina and I, in the investment policy, have the power to do that. I can tell you that I would never invest more than the city could, you know, cash flow out. I'm not going to take the checking account down to $5.
What about looking at it as a percentage?
That's what I was thinking. I just would not like to have something happen and then find out, like, for some reason, our government's unstable and something happens and then we find out. All of our money was in here and we don't have any money now.
It's kind of like diversifying is what you're
Right,
saying.
Yeah, I would like to limit how much they can put in here.
So whatever amount that we decide that we think we should invest, do you want no more than a third of the investment amount in iPad and 2/3 in bank CDs?
I would say to start maybe.
Well, let's start,
or
we can start with that, the
50,
third and
something.
2/3, because based on presumption, inflation eventually comes down, the CD rates would follow suit. And this gives us an option if they go back down from 5 to 2, then we can switch that percentage from 33 to 2/3 or something.
Let's do that, and just to get our feet wet and see. how it goes.
So was that a motion by Mary?
Yes, I'll make a motion.
And then I'll second Mary, what Mary just said.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Number 19.
Except for the first question.
Consider resolution to improve the investment policy. Cynthia again.
So, again, since we were talking about this, I thought, well, I'll put it in the packet so you can see what it reads and, make sure that you're comfortable with it. This is an investment policy that was written right off the state sample of what, cities had to approve. And again, this happened after that Marshalltown and some other town debacle. That's when cities had to start an investment policy. And so that's what you have in place now. And every year or 2 years, we re-adopt it, but it reads just like the state requires it to read. So I thought you might want to see it and just reassure yourself and re-adopt it.
Any questions for Cynthia on the investment policy?
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Second.
Need a roll call, Tom?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Number 20, consider a resolution to approve the naming the depository, Cynthia.
So, Kate said that they're not required to be listed, but I thought, again, to be out front with everything. So all I did was bring up our deposit resolution and added IPATE to it at the same amount that the other non-Fairfax banks were. We have never, gone to those limits, but I just wanted to put it on there. So again, everybody's comfort level is that we're stating everything open.
So talking about a third, up to a third.
Up to a third of what we decide to invest.
Yeah, okay.
Cause we don't have 10 million available to invest right now, so yeah. So if we look at it, we decide that we want to invest $1 million, and we just recently had some CDs that we had almost $1 million at Walford that came due in November. And then we had about $1 million just come due at Fairfax State Savings Bank this month. So.
But the way I read this, the maximum deposit is 10,000.
10 million.
10 million.
Oh, 10 million, yeah. Missed those last three.
Those are important.
That's most.
So anyway, that's the only change in this resolution is the iPad added line.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call please, Marion.
Aye.
I,
Item number 21. Consider resolution to enter an agreement with Catalyst for the city's website. Cynthia.
This was on last meeting, and if you remember, the company that hosts our website and had not, did a price increase, got purchased, and now the new company, is raising rates, and they want to, have us sign a 3-year agreement, I believe it is. It's been a little while since I looked at it. And they want to gradually phase in the cost increase for providing the software, to modify and, update the web page and also for hosting it. And Mike did some research.
So-
I'm sorry, it's a 4-year agreement.
we use a company called Metro Storage Studios. We've been using them, gosh, how long have I been there? Probably 13 years almost, and we've been very happy with what they do. Now, that's a more of a business model than a city model, but their web hosting fees are very low comparatively. And they do, just like this does, web design. They do a lot of marketing, which obviously we're not really interested in, but they have a wide variety of services in addition to web hosting. I did check the pricing now, it'd probably be a little bit different, you know, business for a city, but ours is only about $600 a year, which is obviously about a third of what Catalyst is charging.
And
So-
previously, we were paying, I think, right about 900 or right at 1,000.
Yeah, and they did a lot of website redesign, stuff like that. Not suggesting that we need to, but they have a full suite of services we sell. Felt like it.
And do you guys edit your own pages?
They do it. We tell them what changes we want and they can do it if we need to. They do a lot of our, you know, SEO optimization, online marketing, you know, stuff like that, keeping, not that there's a lot of people Googling city of Fairfax, but just in case you want to make sure they're trying to reach us as opposed to Fairfax, Virginia.
Oh, believe me, we get
them
calls.
all the time.
And what's funny about that, and I can tell you it works, because I know it's kind of apples and oranges, but I wouldn't tell you how many times people are calling us looking for different body shops because of how they do their marketing and advertising. People just click on the first thing, so that's why they're getting Virginia. It's the same thing, you know, we'll get these idiots calling Mickey's, and then we say, why would we call those losers in the first place? But,
Well, we get the call. We get the calls, people looking for, vacancies, so we're on top of the
So-
list.
yeah, so
Now.
those are things that they also do if need be, so.
And Metro is a local business, so if there's problems, I mean.
But we would
But-
want the ability to edit our own pages. I mean, and I get, somebody on staff gets on there probably every day to edit our pages.
Yeah, so that.
Do they have that capability, do you know?
I don't know. I think we mostly give them, we got enough crap to do on a daily basis, so instead we'll tell you what we want, maybe do it, and then they do, so.
And is there an additional fee then if you wanna make a change? You know, is there hosting the one cost and then if
There,
you do
anytime
changes?
we want to make a change, they change it, we don't get separately billed for
Oh,
that
okay.
now. That they have it broken down, and I can break it down if you want, where they break it down with the hosting and then then they have different for marketing and all the different things that they break it down, but the base one, the hosting fee was only about $600, so. But they come and give a presentation, but I shouldn't be called them, they could, I just didn't know how fast we wanted to act on it.
Well, I know I can tell this lady that she didn't decide yet and string her on for a couple more months at least. Because the subscription wouldn't start until July 1 of 24, so we still got, we have 6 months still to negotiate with them. So, do you wanna just email me over their contact
Yeah,
info?
let me give them a holler and then I'll say expect some contact from the city of Fairfax, Iowa.
Okay.
Not Virginia. Not Virginia. Yeah.
So we're gonna table item number 21?
Yeah,
Okay. Move on to,
Would this affect Civic Web?
No, because that's just a link
Okay.
off our website. Yeah, no, it's two separate softwares.
okay, item number 22, discussion and possible motion concerning a newsletter policy. Mary Ann, this one's yours.
We had just talked about that possibly we need to do that, so we have more control over after the last debacle. Our attorney had suggested that. Maybe we do some kind of formal policy, so we have some control over what is appropriate and what is not appropriate to be in the newsletter.
So are we gonna discuss that tonight, or are you on the committee to research that, or?
Well, do we need a committee for it? Number question one, do we need a committee for it, or do we want to have final approval on advertising for any sort of bought space within the Fairfax Facts?
I think that was kind of Randy's issue, was if you take money for your advertising. There was a little gray area as far as can you allow or not allow certain things based on your opinion of those things.
Right.
Well, it's our publication. The
Yeah, it's
question
our-
is,
yeah.
I mean, it's our
So
publication.
it would be like, do you only allow advertising as opposed to an editorial type opinion page? Kind of. Which I think is what he was getting at, was, well, you don't have anything that says you can't do that, and you take money for it, so everybody should be able to say whatever they want.
So you're looking for clarification on what is allowed, so whether it's advertising or,
So maybe, and I think originally our intent was just to allow for business advertising, not pay for the publication. I don't think our intent was to let people
Slanders.
something.
take a big dookie on us, yes.
Yeah.
But
So
then you have
that-
to be careful, because then like when you do, when people run for office, then they again are putting in.
That's what I'm getting at, is do we allow do we have certain categories, so advertising in general for businesses, political advertisements. I know there's some businesses and individuals that just put up things like Merry Christmas or Happy Holidays, you know, so I assume we would have to categorize that as well.
And I think that's what he's saying, he's like, if we would do those types of things, it would maybe circumvent this from happening again in the future.
That we can categorize and put something as vague or as all encompassing as editorials require pre-approval from.
Sounds like, is that a question for Randy as far as making the categories? Would that be? How could we make something like that work? I guess would be a question for Randy. I mean,
Will be for Phil.
Well, either, I mean,
Well,
I don't know who they would assign it to.
Yeah, their rates are dramatically
Different, Phil's substantially cheaper than Randy.
Yes.
He's just been there.
And Phil's the one who's actually recommended.
You know, I think it would be better just to say we don't allow editorials. Rather than we get to approve the editorial.
No,
I don't
I'm
want
fine
us
with
to be in the, okay,
Because
this
then
is,
you
this
get
is a positive city statement, so we wanna allow that.
Yeah.
This one is a negative
And
one,
whose opinion though?
yeah.
So we would allow, I think we just make a statement that moving forward, we would allow advertising.
Business advertising, political advertising, nonprofit announcements, city.
Or do we go?
Items.
Because the flip side is we don't allow editorials. Instead of saying we allow this, we allow this, we allow this, we go, please don't allow editorial.
Yeah, but I mean,
But
you're
what's
saying,
an editorial in one view is different for another.
That gray area.
Well, we can check with the attorney what he thinks about the wording.
It might be easier just to say what we accept.
yeah,
And
there's no gray area.
Well, I think if you don't want gray area, you list what you accept,
There
you
you
list
go.
what you don't.
There you go.
You list it up, you know.
well, I think.
You want us
talk
to
about
contact the attorney and try to come up with a draft.
I think you know what we're, We're trying to,
because,
Well, yeah, I agree we should. Because
I never in a million years would have seen that
Put out
coming,
My
so,
own hate mail now, if that's what's accepted, and that's like, that's not what we want, so.
no, no,
Who's gonna approve it?
prove what?
Anything that's submitted, you guys said.
No, that's what I said, I don't want them to.
No, we don't wanna do that,
We don't
that's
want-
what we're saying.
I will,
I think that would get us in trouble,
Yeah, I do too.
because it's an opinion then, and.
Right.
you wanna keep it objective, not subjective.
Yeah, it needs to be a positive thing.
All right, we'll try to get some more information for next month. Moving on to number 23. Discussion and possible motion to appoint Jill Fessler to the Fairfax Parks Board for a term ending December 31st, 2026. She's a current board member, term expiring. Jill,
Yep,
go
December
ahead.
31st this year, and we might as well do Phil Hargrave while we're doing the same thing.
Two motions.
Okay, all right, sorry. The board, the Parks and Rec Board has unanimously recommended that Jill be reappointed. This also, by the way, will end the original term of the formation of this board. If that makes any sense to you. So originally, there was one person that only had 1 year, two people that only had 2 years, and two people that had 3 years for the original implementation of this board. This brings all of that to an end, and everybody has already been at least one term, one full term of 3 years, so.
I'll move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Number 24.
The exact same thing I just said, but Phil Hargrave.
I'll motion appoint.
Yeah.
Wasn't really presented the same.
Yeah.
Do I hear a second?
Yeah.
All in favor?
I,
Thank you. Number 25. Continuing on with appointments. Discussion and possible motion to appoint Chris Branstad, Fairfax Planning and Zoning. Chris, any comments on that?
Gary Pro served 7 years on our P and Z, is retiring off it, spend more time with his wife. Chris Branstad had moved to town a couple of years ago. Approached me about the P and Z, we were full at the time, and I told him when the position becomes available, we would recommend him. He's been on the board of adjustment since then.
Pretty long there, he's a quitter or something.
He holds off. Yeah, he doesn't want to.
oh,
He's a good guy, yeah.
Gary's a good guy, that's,
Very good person. We're gonna miss him up for, but
he kept you in line.
Some of,
You say Chris was on board with adjustments and advising you on P&Z?
yes, he's been wanting on the P and Z, yes, so.
I'll
This is
second.
the first.
All in favor?
I,
Aye.
Thank you. Number 26, discussion and possible motion appointing Kate Pasha to the
Nay.
Fairfax Board of Adjustment. Chris, any comment on that?
Just, I asked Kate if she'd join, since we need people on the board of adjustment house. She agreed.
so moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
abstain,
Abstained, okay, thank you.
Financial benefit.
I know. How much did I kick back, Chris?
Lot.
Please, I'll take a pickup.
Here, line up right here and I'll show you what it takes back.
Hey, I'll take your pickup truck, alright.
All right, number 27. Mayor's appointment of Mayor Pro Tempore Mary Ann Wainwright. She accepted, I think.
As long as you don't need me.
Did I tell you that I'm going on vacation for class during budget discussions? Okay, thank you. All right, discussion possible motion to appoint city attorney Simmons, Perrine, Moyer, and Bergman.
Motion.
Second,
All in favor?
I,
Aye.
Discussion and possible motion to appoint Cynthia as city clerk and treasurer.
no, yes,
In perpetuity.
yes, forever,
Motion.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Did he leave the room? He's still here. He hung in there till the end.
Don't think I haven't wanted to leave.
Good practice.
You know?
20 minutes into my bedtime.
Number 30, discussion of possible motion to approve fire department's election of Mike Stankin as fire chief.
I wanna know some of his views on things first.
Yeah, we should have some discussion.
Yeah.
He's a quitter, I'd say.
Do I hear a motion on this?
Motion by
All in favor?
Cynthia?
Yes, you should, and I should too.
while standing up.
They,
Sorry,
Put
thank
your
you.
hand.
And salute.
Oh, yeah, he has to read.
I
Oh,
might
you guys
send
have-
you to
I'm
something.
sorry, they have things they have to read.
yeah.
We'll back up. Oh, he's reading.
To the best of my ability, discharge all duties of the office of Brian Murda. Like fire chief in Fairfax, now and hereafter required by law.
Hey.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be able to get.
Okay. Do you want me to read?
Cynthia's reading too.
I, Cynthia Stinson, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Iowa, and that I will faithfully and impartially, to the best of my ability, discharge all duties of the office of City Clerk Treasurer in Fairfax as now or hereafter required by law,
Very good.
until I retire.
Okay. Did we pass motion? Thank you.
What?
Yeah, so everything,
We did vote for things?
I
Yeah.
think we did.
I
Yes,
didn't hear the roll call.
There was no roll call, just eyes. Why you wanna change how you voted? Is that-
No.
No.
We had the first second, I didn't hear the roll call.
oh, he didn't hear the vote, maybe we didn't vote. Maybe I
know we can do it again.
I'll second.
Just-
Everybody's getting a little punchy here. Okay.
Yeah.
Hopefully. You reviewed the claims before you got punchy, so. Number 31, have you had a chance to look at the claims list?
Bless you.
Pay the bills.
Second.
And I think there's something.
There's some over here.
So was there a motion and a second?
Yes.
All in favor, please?
Aye.
All right, so we're down to number 32. All right, since this is Kate's last council meeting.
For the next 2 years.
It's tradition to present the plaque. Stand in front of the owl.
I prefer not to, I don't come across one.
Okay, so I'll read what's on the plaque, presented to Catherine A. Pasha from the city of Fairfax. Thank you for your public service, dedication, and commitment to the city of Fairfax. Fairfax City Council, January 1, 2020 through December 31st, 2023.
Thank you very much, Lisa.
Okay.
Oh, there's a back page?
Continuing on with oaths of office, okay, I guess I'm up next here. All right, item 33. I, Joanne Beard, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Iowa, and I will faithfully and impartially, to the best of my ability, discharge all duties of the office of mayor in Fairfax as now or hereafter required by law. Okay. Got that one? All right, Mike.
I, Dan Wozniak, I, Mike Daly, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Iowa, that I will faithfully and impartially, to the best of my ability, discharge all duties of the office of city council member in Fairfax as now or hereafter required by law.
Very good. We have an official certificate. Congratulations.
You made me check and see if there's a very.
Okay. All
I,
right.
Dan Wozniak, of the Maidstone Delaware.
Go.
I, Dan Wozniak, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Iowa, that I will faithfully and impartially, to the best of my ability, discharge all duties of the office of council member in Fairfax as now or hereafter required by law.
All right, moving on to item number 34, opportunities for citizens not on the agenda.
That's a first.
Okay. Last call. All right, moving on to number 35, mayor's comment. I think, the only thing just to add is that, we are currently advertising for the Public Works 1 open position. And we'll keep in touch. And we haven't received any applications yet,
No,
but when did you start running that?
well, it was on our website, in the newsletter, and it was in the Gazette this Friday, and it'll be in there for 10 days straight. So just-
And if we don't get any applications soon, we'll discuss other places we advertise on with, so that's all I had.
Yeah, and, yeah, I should add, be in the Gazette, then they, when you do the 10-day, you also get a penny saver, and you get 20 days, they're online. So it's all three of those things.
Okay, number 36, clerk's comments.
I don't, other than happy holidays and help himself to some treats, I don't think I.
I'll send you a quick record of meetings, the 9th of January, is there a second one?
Yeah, I think it's the Monday, like the 20th, 21st,
Could you maybe just do an outline with all those dates, because I need to make sure I get them on the calendar.
I mean, like the budget schedule that I've had in the last 2 packets, yes, we can do that again.
Yeah. You know, it's
Just
good.
a third line.
Okay.
Just the day, I know. Alright.
Thank you, everyone, and yes.
Motion to adjourn, yeah.
Aye.
All right. I'm gonna make sure.
Reminder, Kevin's retirement lunch, the 21st at noon here. There's a sheet going around of what people are bringing.
I will decide on that, my wife, the next day to leave.
Yeah, you and every other guy on that list, but maybe like. And if you want to contribute money to his retirement gift card, we're gonna get that this weekend, so have it to us by Friday. I did have stuff and I forgot.
Okay. All right, well, Dan, now, yeah, congratulations.